go. Let me refresh this and see what it do. Yay! It says I'm live now. Ooh, I fixed it. I hope. Yay! It is now fixed. Woohoo! I did a thing. Okay. Sorry that I don't have the nice fancy intro and everything like that to the YouTube stream, and I do apologize for that, guys, but I had to make sure everything was going right. All right. First of all, I am kind of back. Sorry I'm running a little late. I had planned to start at noon, had some things come up. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I actually repositioned my microphone so that it's in a different place and I don't feel like it's going to play hoax and smash my screen. Um, let me cut back and grab my book. We're going to do a stream today, and I know it's like, wow, it's been forever since you streamed. Yes, because the last stream I did was a COVID reading stream. It was. Because it's like I have a day off and I'm so give out from work that I don't feel like streaming. Um, I owe it to you. I know it's been a couple weeks since I streamed, and I know I promised cozy gaming. I promised some play tests. I promised this. I promised that, and I feel so terrible for it. I really, really do. Um, it's just that sometimes well, for one thing, I wasn't sure when I'd be scheduled. And also, too, I wasn't sure what kind of shape I'd be in when I was scheduled. So, just kind of a quick update. I'm feeling pretty good. So I decided to stream today. I was going to stream at noon and kind of make it a little bit of an extra long stream since I have not streamed in a while. But that kind of course, per usual, I never am on time for my own stream. And, yeah, well, you know, you're a Twitch streamer. Yes, I'm a Twitch streamer. I'm always late to my own stream. Um, but I wanted to make it up to you guys, and I feel really terrible about promising streams and not delivering. And like I said, it goes back to the caveat of if I don't feel 100%, I'm not going to do it. And I have not felt 100%. And I'm not going to lie to you. Full transparency, I am struggling with the job physically, mentally, emotionally, fantastic. Physically, so, but the job's going well. I'm not going to say much because I don't want to dox myself, but I am actually enjoying it. They've been really good to me so far. Hey, Diddums, how you doing? Thank you so much for that follow, by the way, and thank you for bitifying me. I appreciate it.
Didems 1970 just cheered 100 bits. Yay for the bitties. Thank you. Cyn. Hi.
Well, I appreciate the biddies and appreciate you popping in. You came in a good time. I'm just kind of catching up everybody, and I do have wow, English not my language today. I also have a YouTube stream, and it is going on concurrently right now as we speak as well. Um, and I know you're hearing some like stuff in the background, some environmental stuff. Today is Wednesday, and it's usually our reading day. Um, so I'm going to do a little bit of a reading stream. Going to read some more of the Harry Dresden novel Summer Night to everybody. I'll swap screens in just a minute and get everything good and started. And then we're going to play some Dreamlight Valley. And I know you're like, oh, again. Well, they just dropped a new Star Path. I did not finish the other one. I know it's a shock to my system. Oh, I missed out on a whole bunch of stuff. Well, I'm sorry, real life, and I don't really have the time to grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. But I'm going to attempt it again this time. And I'm going to be working on some quests, working on the Star Path, just kind of vibing after the read through today. But yeah, sadly, the job has been taking up a lot more of my time than I expected because it's the job itself, it's the scheduling, it's the it's the social, mental, and physical drain afterward. I work anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a day now, and as many as 3 to 4 days. So I'm making a goodly amount of money. Still not as much as I'd like, but it's getting there. I don't know my schedule for next week. They only do my schedules from week to week because they had people planning stuff in advance uh, too often. Um, and I will say this: I have stumbled across my first hiccup, and I think that hiccup being one of the people that I was in orientation with. She has been nothing but a spout of negativity ever since we started working in the shop together. Every time I turn around, she's complaining about her car, she's complaining about her body, she's complaining about her life, she's complaining about the job, she's complaining about the company, and I'm just like, and she's all like, I'm still gonna be looking for another job. I still got options open, and I'm just like, okay, cool story, bro. It's not that serious. Yes, I will fully admit I am going to be putting myself out there as a graphic designer while I'm still at this job. But they have been nothing but good to me. They have been understanding. They have been very um, doting on me. They let me take breaks when I need to. They actually gifted me a pullover with the logo on it, but it's on a shirt that's worth about $200 to $250. It's probably the most expensive piece of wardrobe I have in my closet right now. And maybe second only to maybe the starter jacket and my leather the starter jacket, my leather jacket. So yeah, so they didn't want to see me in my green hobo hoodie anymore. I felt kind of insulted, slightly. It's like, oh, and they want me to put product in my hair to keep my little wispy fuzzes from showing, and I'm like, God, uh. Oh, welcome to the big time, I guess, you know. Anyway, uh, like I said, we're going to do some reading, and I'm going to get started with that in just a moment. We're going to swap scenes here. As you can tell, I have brand new PNGs. I have decided to embrace the goth, nerdy tomboy in me and express it accordingly. So I hope you enjoy the new PNGs. I thought they're a little more appropriate to the time and not so winter based. But since I am reading from the Great White North, I'm keeping my wintry library cottage kind of feel because, well, I kind of aspire to that whole cabin in the woods aesthetic. So, anyway, guys, um, we are going to begin at the beginning. This is story time with Cyn. I'm. I hope you get your blankets, and if you're in a place where you can become cozy, grab your blanket, grab your hot beverage, and curl up by the tablet, phone, computer, wherever you're watching Twitch on, and get good and comfy. If you're not in a climate that is conducive to wrapping up warmly or having a good seasonal warmth like we are around here, I would suggest pulling up a fan and still getting under the comfy, cozy blankets. Because the seasons aren't the same for everyone who listens. So, and I completely understand that. As a personal announcement, please refrain from all biddies, subs, follows, etc. Anything that would set off the Twitch alerts. And there are no sound effects or sound alerts that are on this scene, so that they will not work. So save your points until after the reading. With all that aside, let's begin. And for those of you that have not caught up on this current book that we're reading, by the way, the cover that you see is for the omnibus, not necessarily the actual novel involved. The novel we're reading right now is Summer Knight, which is book 4 in the Harry Dresden series by Jim Butcher. The omnibus carries it's either 3 or 4 books, and it is called Wizard by Trade. You can look up both of them online, I'm sure. I would get them from Barnes and Noble instead of Amazon, but that's just my personal preference. And And if you want to catch up, the first two parts are on YouTube. The third part is I still haven't edited it and sent it to YouTube, but the third part is on the live stream on YouTube as well as the live stream bot here on Twitch. So if you would like to get caught up. And where we last left our heroes is chapter 17. I laid Elaine out first thing and tried to determine the extent of her injuries. Her forearms had been laced open in several places, but the worst injury was on her back, just inside her left clavicle, a nasty puncture wound. The edges of it had puckered closed, but it hadn't stopped the bleeding completely, and if she was bleeding internally, she could be done for. I would need both hands to put pressure on the wound. No help was on the way, and there was little I could do for her. So I picked her up and put her back into the Beetle and jumped in myself and started the ignition. Hang in there, Elaine, I said. I'm getting you to a hospital. You're going to be all right. She shook her head. No, it's too dangerous. You're hurt too badly for me to take care of it, I said. Relax, I'll be with you. She opened her eyes and said with a sudden, surprising insistence, no hospitals, they'll find me there. I started up the car. Damn it, Elaine, what else am I supposed to do? She closed her eyes again and said, she closed her eyes again. Her voice grew fainter by the word. Aurora, Summer, Rothschild Hotel. There's an elevator in back. She'll help. The Summer lady? I demanded. You're joking, right? She didn't answer me. I looked over at her and my heart all but stopped as I saw her head loll and her body slumped. I jammed the Beetle into gear and jounced onto the road. Rothschild Hotel, I muttered. More fairies. To kind of catch you up, in this particular book, he is dealing with the Summer and Winter Fae courts. He is technically acting as the emissary for the Winter Court. So rolling up into the Summer Court's hotel room ain't exactly on his list of things to do. It got us to the hotel, one of the nice places along the shores of Lake Michigan. I skipped the huge valet-littered front drive and zipped the Beetle into the back parking lot, looking for some kind of service drive or freight elevator, or maybe just a door with a sign on it that said, Summer Court of the Fairies this way. I felt a slight warmth on my ear, and then Elodie zoomed out in front of my face and bumped up against the window. I rolled the window down a bit, and a tiny fairy streaked out ahead of my car, guiding me to the back of the lot. She stopped, circling an unobtrusive, unlit breezeway. Then she sped away, her task evidently completed. I quickly parked the car and set the brake. Elaine may have been slender, but she was too much muscle to be light. She'd always had the build of a long-distance runner, long and lean and strong. She was only just conscious enough to make it a little easier for me to carry her, wrapping her arms around my neck and leaning her head on my shoulder. She trembled and felt cold. Doubt gnawed at me as I took her down the breezeway. Maybe I should have ignored her and gone to the hospital. I kept going till it became too dark to see, and I started to put Elaine down so that I could take out my amulet to make some light. Just as I did, a pair of elevator doors swept open, spilling light and canned music onto the breezeway. A girl stood in the door. She was 5'0", 100. Her sunny hair pulled back into a braid. She wore a blue T-shirt with white painter's overalls, and she was liberally, bleh, words, splattered with flakes of what looked like clay. Her rosy mouth opened in dismay as she saw me standing there with Elaine. Oh no, she exclaimed. She beckoned me urgently. Come on, get her inside. The lady can see her. My arms and shoulders had begun to burn with the effort of supporting Elaine, so I didn't waste time talking. I shuffled forward into the elevator and leaned against the back wall with a wheeze. The girl closed the elevator doors, took a key from her overalls pocket, and inserted it into a solitary keyhole where you expect a bunch of buttons would be. The elevator gave a little lurch and started up. What happened to Ella? The girl asked me. She looked from me to Elaine and chewed on one lip. Ella? Beats me. I found her like this in my car. She told me to bring her here. Oh, God, the girl said. She looked at me again. You're with Winter, aren't you? I frowned. How'd you know? She shrugged. It shows. I'm with Winter for now, but it's a one-shot deal. Think of me as a free agent. Perhaps, but an agent of Winter all the same. Are you sure you want to be here? No, I said, but I'm sure I'm not leaving Elaine till I'm convinced she's in good hands. The girl frowned. Oh, can't this thing go any faster? My shoulders burned, my back ached. My bruises were complaining. I could feel Elaine's breathing growing weaker. I had to fight not to scream in sheer frustration. I wish there'd been a bank of buttons to push, just that I could have slammed the right button a bunch of times in a senseless effort to speed up the elevator. The doors opened a geological epoch later onto a scene as incongruous as a gorilla in a garter belt. Ah, the elevator had taken us to what could have only been the roof of a hotel, assuming the roof opened up onto a section of a rainforest in Borneo. Trees and greenery grew so thick that I couldn't see the edge of the roof. And though I could hear nighttime noises of Chicago, the sounds were vague in the distance, could almost not be heard over the buzz of locusts and the chittering of some kind of animal I did not recognize. Wind rustled in the forest around me, and silver moonlight, brighter than I would have thought possible, gave everything an eerie, surreal beauty. I'm so glad I was going out for more clay just then. This way, the girl said, and started off on a trail through the forest. I followed as quickly as I could, puffing hard to keep holding a lane. It wasn't a long walk. The trail wound back and forth and then opened to a grassy glade. I stopped and looked around. No, not a glade, more like a garden. A pool rested at its center, still water reflecting in the moon overhead. The benches and stone of a good size for sitting on were strewn about the landscape, statuary, most of it marble, and of human subjects stood here and there, often framed by flowers or placed between young trees. On the far side of the pool stood what at first glance I took to be a gnarled tree. It wasn't. It was a throne. A throne of living wood, trunk grown into the correct shape, branches and leaves spreading above it in a stately elegance, roots spreading and anchoring to the earth. People stood here and there. A paint-spattered young man worked furiously on some sort of portrait, his face set in concentration. A tall man, his ageless beauty and pale hair marking him as one of the she, stood in the posture of a teacher beside a slender girl who was drawing back a bow, aiming at a target of bundled branches. On the far side of the glade, smoke rose from the stones piled in the shape of an oven or a forge, and a broad-chested man, shirtless, bearded, heavy-browed, and fierce-looking, stood on the other side of it, wielding a smith's hammer in regular rhythm. He stepped away from the forge, a glowing hot blade gripped in a set of tongs, and dunked it to a trough of silvery water. When I got a better look at him, I understood what he was. Steam rose in a cloud over his heavy equine forelegs and over his human belly and broad chest, and the centaur stamped a rear hoof impatiently, muttering under his breath while colored lights played back and forth in the water of the trough. Haunting pipe music, sad and lovely, drifted through the glade from a young woman, mortal, sitting with a set of reed pipes playing with her eyes closed. "Where is she?" I demanded. "Where's the lady?" The centaur's head snapped around. He snarled in a sudden, harsh basso. He took up his hammer again, whipped it in a quick circle, and started toward me in a slow canter, Clydesdale-sized hooves striking the ground with dull thumps. "Winterbound, here it cannot be borne." I tensed, holding a lane a little closer. My heart lurched into a higher gear. The centaur was huge and looked ready to kill. "Whoa there, big fella. I'm not looking for trouble." The centaur bared his teeth at me and spoke, his deep voice filled with outrage. "There you stand with our emissary's blood on your hands and expect us to believe you?" The tall she-man barked. "Corrick, hold!" The centaur drew up short, rearing onto his hind legs and kicking at the air with heavy hoofs. "My lord Talos," he growled in frustration, "this arrogance cannot be tolerated." "Peace," the she-lord said. "But, my lord—" The she-lord stepped between me and the centaur, his back to me. He wore close-fit trousers of green and a loose shirt of white linen. The she-lord said nothing, and I couldn't see his expression, but the centaur's face reddened and blanched. He bowed his head, a stiff gesture, and then walked back over to his forge, hooves striking the ground in sharp, angry motions. The she, Talos, I presume, turned back to me and regarded me with calm, feline eyes the color of a summer sky. He had the pale hair of the she hanging in a straight, fine sheet to brush his shoulders. There was a quality of quiet confidence in his features, a relaxed strength, and the sense of him was somehow less alien than that of most of the she I'd encountered. I have to kind of take up a certain air for this. And we have an ad break in less than 20 seconds. "I hope you will not judge Corrick too harshly, sire. You are, I take it, Harry Dresden. If I'm not, he's going to be upset with me when he catches me running around in his underpants." Talos smiled. The expression came easily to his features. "Then I grant you passport and license in agreement with the Accords. I am Talos, Lord Marshal of the Summer Court." "Yeah, that's great. Nice to meet you," I said. "And hey, do you think you could help me save this woman's life now?" The she's smile faded. "I will do what I can." He glanced to the side and gestured with a roll of his wrist. The garden flew into activity. A cloud of pixies darted through the air, bearing stalks of green plants and broad, soft leaves. They piled in a soft-looking mound near the side of the pool. Talos looked at me for permission, then gently took Elaine's weight into his arms. My shoulders and biceps all but screamed in relief. The she-lord carried Elaine to the bed of leaves and laid her down upon it. He touched her throat and her brow with her one hand, eyes closing. Weak, he said quietly, and cold. But she has strength left in her. She'll be all right for a little while. No offense, but your people have some odd notions about time. Go get your lady. She needs to see Elaine now. Talos regarded me with that same quiet, opaque expression. She will be here when she will be here. I cannot hurry the sunrise nor the lady. I started to tell him where he could stick his sunrise, but I bit back the words and tried to take out some frustration by clenching my fists. My knuckles popped. I had to pause right there already for an ad break. I guess it's because I took quite a bit of time with the updates. Let me take a short drink as well. Nom, 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 nom. And I'm checking on some other things while I do so. By the way, I follow the cutest seal otter stream. It is absolutely adorable. And I really enjoy it on a very calm level. I mean, it helps a lot. It on a very mute myself. I have to mute myself there. I heard myself. Oh. Yikers. 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 So what does Simon have to say? Let's see. The ever persistent informant. I love that. Simon, you kill me. Every single time. Oh, I've got an ad break for about a minute. I do apologize for those of you on YouTube that are tuned in and like ad break. What ad break? I don't know what you're talking about. We are concurrently on Twitch as well as YouTube's, and unfortunately, Twitch does require some ad breaks when you are an affiliate. Hopefully, there'll be for things you want, and of course, you can always watch ad free on YouTube. I hope it's ad free anyway. And if you decide you would like to support the stream, do not sub because you want to get rid of ads. Don't sub because you feel like you have to. But if you choose to support the stream, feel free to follow. Just keep the follow until after we finish our story break. And if you would like to sub, that is always fine. Bitify, whatever. But it's always optional, never necessary to be a part of the stream. And if you would like to listen and lurk, feel free to do so as well. I absolutely love my lurkers. And if you know people that like to lurk in streams and like to hear live reading of books, feel free to pass my link along. Thank you so much. And we are back from the ad break and we shall continue. A hand touched my arm. The girl, the sculptor from the elevator, said, "Please, sir, let me get you something to drink or some food. Mortal food, I mean. I wouldn't offer the other kind." "Like hell," I said. "Not until Elaine's taken care of." From where he knelt beside Elaine, Talos lifted both eyebrows, but he shrugged his shoulders. "As you wish." He rested his fingertips lightly on either side of her face and bowed his head. "My skills are rather limited. I can at least assure she loses no ground." There was a quiet surge of energy, something as gentle and strong as the weight of a wave lifting you off your feet. Elaine suddenly took a deep breath and color came back into her cheeks. She blinked her eyes open for a moment, then sighed and closed them again. "Talos can sustain her for a time," the girl said, "until the lady decides. He has been Ella's guardian and friend for several years." She tugged at my arm. "Please take something to eat. You'll make us poor hosts if you do not." My stomach growled again, and my throat started to complain after all the hard breathing I'd been doing. I exhaled through my nose and nodded to the girl, who led me to one of the benches not far away and pulled a plastic Coleman cooler from underneath it. She rummaged inside and tossed me a cold can of Coke, a small bag of potato chips, and a long hoagie. None of them held any of the subtle, quivering lure of fairy fare. Best I can do for now, she said. Turkey subs sound all right? Marry me, I responded. Tore into the food with fervor and spent a couple minutes indulging one of the purest primal pleasures, eating. Food never tastes so good as when you're starving, and Talos had granted me safe passport under the Accord, so I wasn't worried about any drugs in it. While I ate, the girl drew a short stand over to her on which it was a clay bust of a young woman, parts of it still rough, parts marked with the tracks of her fingers. She dipped them into a bowl of water attached to the stand and started working on the bust. What happened to her? She asked. Hell if I know, I said between bites. She was in my car like that, wanted me to bring her here. Why did you? She flushed. I mean, you're working for Summer's enemies, right? Yeah, but it doesn't mean I'm friendly with them. I shook my head, washed down half a chewed bite with a long drink of Coke. Absolute heaven. I ate for a moment more and then frowned at the bus she was working on. The face seemed familiar. I studied it a bit and asked, Is that Lily? The girl blinked at me. You know her? Of her, I said. She's a changeling, isn't she? The girl nodded. Winter, but she hasn't chosen to go over to them. She was under Ronald's protection. She models for us sometimes. She gestured vaguely toward the young man who was painting intently. See, there are a few other pieces she modeled for around here. I looked around the garden and picked out a pair of statues among all the rest. Both were nudes of white marble. One of them depicted the girl in a tiptoe, stretched arms over her head, body arched prettily. The other showed her kneeling, looking at something cupped in her hands, her expression one of quiet sadness. Seems like she's well liked. The girl nodded. She's very gentle, very sweet. Very missing, I said. She frowned. Missing? Yeah, her roommate asked me to see if I could find her. Have you seen her in the past couple days? She hasn't been here to model, and I've never seen her anywhere but here. I'm sorry. Worth a shot, I said. Why are you looking for her? I told you. Her roommate asked for my help. I gave it, which is mostly true, technically, I suppose. I sold it. I got that uneasy feeling that I might start feeling too guilty over the cash Merrill had given me to spend it. I'm a tad busy this week, but I'll do what I can. The girl's brow furrowed as she worked at the bus. You're not like anyone else I've ever met who is working for Winter. Mob usually likes her agents colder, I think, hungrier, more cruel. I shrugged. She wanted someone to find a killer. I've had some experience. She nodded. Still, you seem like a decent enough person. It makes me sad to think you've gotten entangled in Winter's snares. I stopped chewing and looked up at her hard. Oh, hell's bells. She looked at me and lifted her eyebrow. I put the sandwich down and said, You're her. You're the summer lady. The shadow of a smile touched the girl's lips, and she bowed her head toward me. Her blonde hair cleared out to shea white. Her fingers and lips suddenly seemed slightly longer, and her features became almost identical to Maeve's, eyes vertically slitted and almost violently green. She still wore the coveralls and blue T-shirt, and was still liberally covered in flecks of clay, though. They stood out in sharp contrast to her fair skin and pale hair. Call me Aurora, she said. It's a little easier for everyone. Right, I said. I finished the bite I was on and said, So are you going to stop playing games with me and help Elaine, Aurora? She glanced over at Elaine lying on the ground, and her expression grew troubled. That depends. My teeth clenched, and I said in a falsely pleasant voice, On what? She turned her calm and human eyes to me. On you. Don't go getting specific on me now, I said. I wouldn't know how to handle it. Do you think this is a joke, Mr. Dresden? A game? You know damn well it isn't a game. She shook her head, and this is where you are wrong. It is a game, but unlike the ones you know, you aren't allowed to know the rules to this game, and it was never intended to be fair. Do you know why Mob chose you, Wizard? I glared at her. No. Neither do I, she said, and that is my part of the game. Why choose you? It must be because she expects something of you that she would get from no one else. Perhaps bringing Ella here is what she expected. What's the difference? I demanded. Elaine is hurt. Your emissary has been wounded in the line of duty. Don't you think you should get her moving again? But if that is what Winter expects, it could be used against me. I'm the least queen of summer, and even so, I must be cautious in the use of my power. Maeve sure as hell doesn't think that way. Of course not, she said. She's Winter. She's violent, vicious, merciless. And your centaur is just the soul of gentleness and understanding. Aurora sighed. and lowered her clay-crusted fingers. I hope you will forgive Corrick's temper. He is usually a merrier sort. Everyone's been edgy 'cause of matters here. Uh-huh, I said, just so we're clear. That was really moral food, wasn't it? Yes, she said, I have no desire to threaten your freedom, Mr. Dresden, or to bind you in any way. Good. I knew she couldn't lie to me, so I took another bite of the sandwich and some more chips. Look, I'm not here to try to undermine your power or sabotage Summer Aurora. I just want you to help Elaine. I know, she said, and I believe you, but I don't trust you. What reason do you have not to trust me? I've watched you, she responded. You're a mercenary. You work for hire. Yeah, to pay the bills. And she lifted a hand. You've made bargains with demons. Nickel and dime stuff, nothing huge. Or you traded yourself to the Lianashi for power. When I was younger and a hell of a lot stupider and in trouble. Her inhuman eyes met mine, penetrating. You've killed. I looked away from her. There wasn't much to say to that. My stomach turned. I pushed the food a bit away from me. Aurora nodded slowly. From the beginning, you've been meant to be a destroyer, a killer. Do you know the original purpose of a godparent, Mr. Dresden? Yeah, I said. I felt tired. A godparent is chosen to ensure that a child had religious and moral guidance and teaching. Indeed, she said, and your godmother, your teacher and guide, is the most vicious creature of Mob's court, more than Maeve's equal, second in strength only to Mob herself. She let out a harsh laugh. Teacher, guide, is that what you think Leah is to me? Isn't she? Leah barely noticed me except when she thought she could get something from me, I spat. The rest of the time, she couldn't care less. The only thing she taught me is that if I didn't want to get walked on, I had to be smarter than her, stronger than her, and willing to do something about it. Aurora turned a lovely face fully toward me and regarded me with deep, quiet eyes. Yes, I knees gnawed at my belly. As she continued, the strong conqueror and the weak are conquered. The strong conquer and the weak are conquered. That is winter. That is what you have learned. She leaned closer and said quietly, emphatic, this is what makes you dangerous, don't you see? I stood up and walked a few paces away. Aurora didn't say anything. I heard drips of water. She washed her hands in the little bowl. If you aren't going to help Elaine, tell me. I'll take her to the hospital. Do you think I should help her? I'll give a damn if you do or not, I said. But one way or the other, I'm going to make sure she's taken care of. Make up your mind. I already have. What remains is for you to make up yours. I took a wearied breath before asking, meaning? Of the two people who entered this garden, Mr. Dresden, Elaine's not the most grievously wounded. You are. Like hell, I've just got some cuts and bruises. She rose and walked toward me. Those aren't the wounds I mean. She reached out and laid a slender hand over my heart. Her skin was warm even through my shirt, and the simple fact of her touch brought me a small but noticeable sense of comfort. Susan had been gone for months, and with the exception of the occasional assault, no one had actually touched me. That's a hell of a sentence right there. That's terrible, actually, if you think about it. She looked up at me and nodded. You see, you've been badly wounded, Mr. Dresden. You found neither rest nor respite from your pains. I'll live. True, she said, but this is where it always begins. Monsters are born of pain and grief and loss and anger. Your heart is full of them. Now, see, that's a very apt quote for myself. I shrugged. And it makes you vulnerable to Mob's influence, to temptations that would normally be unthinkable. I'm handling temptation pretty damn well, thank you. But for how long? You need to heal, wizard. Let me help you. I frowned at her and her hand. How? Aurora gave me a small, sad smile. I'll show you. Here. Her palm pressed a bit closer to me, and somewhere inside of me a dam broke open. Emotions welled up like a riotous rainbow. Scarlet rage, indigo fear, pale blue sadness, aching yellow loneliness, putrid green guilt. The tide flooded through me, coursed over me like a bolt of lightning, searing and painful and beautiful all at once. And after the tide receded, a deep, quiet stillness followed. A sensation of warmth suffused me, and gently easing away my aches and bruises, it spread over my skin like sunlight on a lazy afternoon outside, and with the warmth my cares began to evaporate. My fear vanished, and I began to relax muscles I hadn't realized that were stretched tight as the warmth spread. I floated in warmth for a time, the release from pain and ecstasy in itself. When I came back to my senses, I was lying on my back in the grass, staring at the leaves and silver starred sky. My head lay in Aurora's lap. She knelt behind me, and her hands rested lightly, warm and soft along the sides of my face. The pain began to return to my body, thoughts, and heart, like some quiet and odious tide washing in garbage from a polluted sea. I heard myself make a small sound of protest. Aurora looked down at me, her eyes concerned. Worse even than I expected. You didn't even realize how much pain you were in, did you? My chest heaved and I let out a quiet sob. The warmth faded entirely, and the sheer weight of the difficulties I had to face pressed down on me, suffocating me. Aurora said, "Please let me help you. We'll make it a bargain, Mr. Dresden. Desist. Relax your efforts to help Winter. Stay here for a time and let me grant you a measure of peace." Real tears formed, making my vision blur. I mopped at my face and my hands, struggling to think clearly. If I took the deal, it would probably mean my ass. Backing off from Mom's offer would mean that I didn't get a good outcome for the White Council, which meant they would buy peace with the Red Court of vampires for the low price of one Harry Dresden, slightly damaged. "Forget it," I said, my voice weak. "I've got a job to do." Aurora closed her eyes for a moment, nodded. "At least you're true to your word, Mr. Dresden. Your honor is admirable, even if it is misguided." I forced myself to sit up away from Aurora. "Go on," I said. "Help Elaine." "I will," she assured me. "But she is in no danger for the moment. It will take me some time. There's something I wish to say to you first." "Okay, talk." Nine pages. "How much did Mob tell you about Ronald's death?" I shook my head. "That he was dead, that the mantle of power he wore went missing, and the killer had to be found." "Did she tell you why?" I frowned. "Not exactly." Aurora nodded and folded her hands in her lap. "Summer readies to go to war against Winter." I frowned. "You mean it's not just a theoretical possibility anymore, it's real?" "I know of no other kind of war. The loss of the Summer Knight has forced Summer's hand." "I'm not sure I follow." Her pale brow knit into a soft frown. "The power of our knights is considerable. It carries a sort of weight that only a free mortal can possess. That power, that influence, is a critical element in the balance between our courts, except now yours is gone." "Exactly, which makes Summer weaker." "Yes." I nodded. "Then why the hell are you planning an attack?" "The seasons are changing," Aurora said. "In 2 days' time, midsummer will be upon us, the height of summer's strength." She said nothing more, but letting me do the math. "You think Winter has taken away your night," I said, "and if you wait, you're only going to grow more and more weak while Winter gets stronger, right?" If we're to, Correct. If we're to have any chance of victory, we must strike while the peak of our strength. It'll be the only time when our court might be equal to Winter's strength. Otherwise, the seasons will change, and Midwinter Mob and her creatures will come for us, and they will destroy us, and with us the balance of the mortal world." She lifted her green eyes from her hands to my face. "Winter, Mr. Dresden, endless winter, unending and vicious cycles of predator and prey. Such a world would not be kind to mortals." I shook my head. "Why would Winter pull this now? I mean, if they had waited another couple of days, they could have held all the cards. Why leave you enough space to wriggle out?" "I cannot even pretend to know the mind of Winter," Aurora said, "but I know they must not be allowed to destroy us for your sake as well as ours." Boy, everybody's looking out for my best interest. "Wizard, please, promise me that you'll do what you can to stop them." "I'm finished making promises." I stood up and started for the path that led back to the elevator and out, and part of me wanted to do nothing but return to the comfort Aurora had offered. I paused and squeezed my eyes shut, focusing my resolve. "But I will say this. I'm going to find the killer and straighten this out. And I'm going to do it before midsummer." And I didn't bother to add, "because I'm as good as dead if I don't." No need to belabor the obvious. Give me 1 second to take a drink. Chapter 18. I got the hell away from the Rothschild and found a payphone. Murphy picked up in the first ring. "Dresden?" "Yeah." "Finally. You all right?" "I need to talk to you." There was a short pause, and her voice softened. "Where?" I rubbed at my head with the heel in one hand, trying to nudge my brain into gear. My thoughts stumbled around sluggishly and in no particular order. Dunno, someplace public, bunch of people quiet enough to talk. "In Chicago at this time of night?" "Yeah." "Okay," Murph said. "I guess I know a place." She told me. We agreed to meet in 20 minutes, and I hung up. As I pulled into the parking lot, I reflected that odds were not a lot of Odds were that not a lot of clandestine meetings involving mystical assassination, theft of arcane power, and the balance of power in the realms of the supernatural had taken place in a Walmart supercenter. But then again, maybe they had. Hell, for all I knew, the mole man used the changing rooms as a place to discuss plans for world domination with the psychic jellyfish from Planet X and the disembodied brains that draw from the Klaatu Nebula. I know I wouldn't have looked for them there. After midnight, Walmart wasn't crowded, but it wasn't the usual deserted parking lot you'd expect after hours around Wrigleyville either. The store was open all night, and there were plenty of people in town like Chicago who would do their shopping late. Ah, the overnight Walmarts. Ah, damn COVID. Goddamn COVID. Some of the best times to shop. And for those of you that might not be familiar with what Walmart is, Google it. Because trust me, I'm sure everybody knows what Walmart is. And the 24-hour Walmarts, which were a blessing. I had to park about halfway down a row and walk through the cool of the evening before stepping into the refrigerator cold of the enormous store, whose massive air conditioners had too much momentum to slow down for a few paltry hours of darkness. A greeter nodded sleepily to me as I came in, and I passed up his offer for a shopping cart. Before I'd gotten all the way into the store, Murphy fell into step beside me. She was wearing a Cubs jacket, jeans, and sneakers, and she had her blonde hair tucked up underneath an undecorated black ball cap. She walked with her hands in her pockets. No, Walmart, never heard of it. And her expression, one of belligerent annoyance, didn't seem to fit on someone that short. Wordlessly, we walked past all the little hole-in-the-wall franchise businesses closed and locked up behind their grills, and settled down at the generic cafe near the deli section of the grocery store. Murphy chose a booth where she could watch the door, and I sat across from her where I could watch her back. She picked up a couple cups of coffee. Bless her noble heart. I dumped sugar and creamer into mine until bits floated on the surface and stirred it up and took a slow sip that nearly scalded my tongue. You don't look so good, Murphy said. I nodded. You want to talk about it? To my own surprise, I did. I set the coffee down and said without preamble, I'm furious, Murph. I can't think straight. I'm so mad. Why? Because I screwed up. That's why. No matter what I do, I'm going to take it up the ass. Lines appeared between her eyebrows. What do you mean? It's this job, I said, investigating Ruel's death. There's a lot of resistance, and I don't know if I can beat it. And if I don't beat it by 4 tomorrow night, things are really going to go to hell. The client isn't being helpful? I let out a bitter laugh. Hell, for all I know, the client is doing this to me just so I can get myself horribly killed. You don't trust them then. Not as far as I could kick her, and the people who are supposed to be working with me are driving me nuts. I shook my head. I feel like some guy in a magician's box just before he starts pushing all those swords through it, only it's not a trick. The swords are real, and they're going to start skewering me at any second. The bad guys are doing their best to get me wiped out or screwed up. The good guys think I'm some kind of ticking psycho, just waiting to go off, and it's like pulling teeth to try to get a straight answer out of any of them. You think you're in danger. I know it, I said, and it's just too damn big. I fell quiet for a moment and sipped my coffee. So, Murph said, why do you want to see me? Because the people who should be backing me up are about to throw me to the wolves, and because the only person actually helping me is green enough to get himself killed without a babysitter. I set the empty cup down, and because when I asked myself who could I trust, I came up with a damn short list. You're it. She settled back in her seat with a slow, long exhalation. So you're going to tell me what's going on? If you're willing, I said. I know I've kept things from you, but I've done it because I thought it was how I could protect you best, because I didn't want you to get hurt. Yeah, she said. I know, it's annoying as hell. I tried to smile. In this case, ignorance is bliss. If I tell you this stuff, it's going to be serious. Just knowing it could be dangerous for you, and you aren't going to be able to get away from it, Murph. Not ever. She regarded me soberly. Then why tell me now? Because you deserve to know long since. Because you've risked your life for me and to protect people from all the supernatural crud that's out there. Because being around me has brought you trouble. And knowing more about it might help you if it comes your way again. My cheeks flushed and I admitted, and because I need your help, this is a bad one, I'm afraid. I'm not going anywhere, Harry. I gave her a tired smile. One last thing. If you come in on this, you have to understand something. You have to promise me that you won't haul SI and the rest of the police in on everything. You can dig up information, use them discreetly, but you can't round up a posse and go gunning for demons. Her eyes narrowed. Why the hell not? Because bringing mortal authorities into a conflict is the nuclear assault of the supernatural world. No one wants to see it happen. And if they thought you might do it, they'd kill you. Or they'd pull strings higher up and get you fired or framed for something. They would never allow it to pass. You'd get yourself ruined or hurt or killed, and it's likely a lot of people would go down with you. I paused and let the words sink in and then asked, still want me to tell you? She closed her eyes for a moment and then nodded. Once. Hit me. You're sure? Yes. All right, I said, and I told Murphy all about it. It took a while. I told her about Justin and about Elaine. I told her about the supernatural forces and politics at play in and around the city. I told her about the war I'd started because of what the Red Court had done to Susan. I told her about the fairies and Ruel's murder. And most of all, I told her about the White Council. The spineless, arrogant, egomaniacal sons of bitches, Murphy growled. Who the hell do they think they are, selling out their own people like that? Some silent, delighted part of me let out a mental cheer at her reaction. She made a disgusted noise and shook her head. So let me get this straight, she said. You started a war between the Council and the Red Court. The Council needs the support of the fairies in order to have a chance at victory, but they can't get that support unless you find this killer and restore the stolen magical power thingy, mantle, iron injector, whatever, Murphy said. And if you don't get the magic what's-its, the Council fixes you up in a carry-out box for the vampires. I said, and if you don't find the killer before midsummer, the fairies slug it out with each other. Which could be bad no matter who won. It would make El Nino look as mild as an early spring thaw, and you want my help. You've worked homicide before, you're better at it than me. Well, that goes without saying, she said, a trace of smile in her mouth. Look, Harry, if you want to find out who did the killing, the best way is to start to figure out why. Why what? Why the murder? Why Ruel got bumped off? All right, I said. And why would someone try to take you out in the park yesterday? It could have been almost anyone. I said it wasn't like it was a brilliant attempt as far as they go. Wrong, Murphy said. Not neat, but not stupid either. After you called earlier tonight, I snooped around. I frowned at her. You found something? Yeah. Turns out there have been 2 armed robberies in the past 3 days. First outside of Cleveland, then at a gas station just this side of Indianapolis coming towards Chicago. That doesn't sound out of the ordinary. No, Murphy said, not unless you throw in that. In both cases, someone was grabbed at the scene and abducted, and both times the video security broke down just as the robbery started. Eyewitnesses in Indiana identified the perpetrator as a woman. Sounds like our ghoul, then. Murph nodded, her lips pressed together. Any chance these people she grabbed are alive? I shook my head. Not likely. She probably ate them. A ghoul can go through 40 or 50 pounds of meat a day. She'll put whatever's left someplace where animals can't get it and cover her tracks. She nodded. I figured the pattern matches several incidents over the past 20 years. It took me a while to piece it together, but something similar has happened 3 times in connection with the operations of a contract killer who calls herself the Tigress. A friend in the FBI told me they suspect her of a number of killings in the New Orleans area, and Interpol thinks she's pulled jobs in Europe and Africa, too. Hired gun, I said, so who did the hiring? From what you've said, my money's on the vampires. They're the ones who benefit the most from you being dead. If they punch your ticket, the council will probably sue for peace, right? Maybe, I said, but I doubt it. If that's what they had in mind, it's a stupid timing. They Pearl Harbored a bunch of wizards somewhere in Russia 2 nights ago, and the council was pretty angry about it. Okay, so maybe they figured that if your investigation finds Ruel's killer and gets the council brownie points with the fairies, they're in for a real fight. Killing you before that happens makes sense. Except that when it went down, I wasn't involved in the investigation yet. Murphy shook her head. I wish we could get you together with a sketch artist to describe her. Doubt it would help much. She was in makeup at first, and I didn't give her a second look. By the time I was paying attention, she mostly looked like something out of a Japanese horror cartoon. She glanced at her now cold coffee. Not much we can do, but wait. I've got a couple of sources trying to turn up more, but I wouldn't bet anything on them. I'll let you know. I nodded. Even if we find her, it might not help with the fairy stuff. Right, she said. Mind if I ask you a few questions? Maybe I'll see something you don't. Okay. This dreadlock chick, Maeve, you said her name was. Yeah. How sure are you your instinct about her that she couldn't have done the murder, I mean. Pretty close to certain, but not completely. I frowned thoughtfully. No, fairies are tricky that way, not completely. Murphy nodded. What about Mom? I rubbed at my chin, feeling the beginnings of stubble. She never out and out denied responsibility for Ruella's death, but I don't think she's the killer. What makes you say that? I don't know. I do. She could have picked anyone she wanted to represent her interests, and she chose you. If she wanted to cover her tracks, it would make more sense for her to choose someone less capable and with less experience. She wouldn't have picked someone as stupidly stubborn as you. I scowled. Not stupidly, I said. I just don't like to leave things undone. Murphy snorted. You don't know the meaning of give up, dolt. You see my point. Yeah, I guess it's reasonable. And so what's about this Summer girl? I blew out of breath. It doesn't seem to hang on her very well. She was kinder than any fairy I ever met. She could have been pretty darn unpleasant to me, but she wasn't. How about the other mortal then, the Winter Knight? He is a violent, vicious heroin addict. I could see him tossing Ruel down those stairs, sure, but I'm not sure he's savvy enough to have worked enough magic to steal the mantle. He was more of a plunder now and think later sort of guy. I shook my head. I've got 3 more fairies to talk to, though. Summer Queen and both mothers. Murphy nodded. When will you see them? As soon as I can work out how. The ladies are the closest to the mortal world. They aren't hard to find. The queens and the mothers, though, they live in fairy proper. I'll have to go there to find a guide. Murphy lifted her eyebrows. A guide? I grimaced. Yeah, I don't want to, but it's looking like I'm going to have to pay my godmother a visit. Murphy quirked an eyebrow. Seriously? You have a fairy godmother? Long story, I said. Okay, I want to get moving. If you could. The store lights went out all at once. My heart all but stopped. A second later, battery-powered emergency lights came up and revealed a roiling cloud of silver and gray mist spreading into the store from the doors. The mist rolled over a startled cashier, and the woman slumped, her mouth slightly open and her eyes unfocused, staring. Good Lord, Murphy said softly. Harry, what's happening? I had already gotten out of the booth and grabbed the salt shaker from our table and the one next to it. Trouble, come with me. Why does that sound like a supernatural episode? Here comes some smoke. We better grab the salt. I mean, it's on point. I mean, it's really on brand, isn't it? Chapter 19. At first, I tried to circle around to the exit doors, but the mist proved to be flowing in through them as well. Curse it! We can't get out that way. Murphy's face went more pale as a young man flung himself at the exit doors. The moment he hit the mist, his running steps faltered. He came to a halt, a puzzled expression on his face, and stared around him blankly as his shoulders slumped. Dear God, she whispered. Harry, what is that? Come on, back to the back of the store, I said, and started running that way. I think it's a mind fog. You think? I scowled over my shoulder at Murphy. I've never seen one before, just heard about them. They shut down your head, flatline your ability to remember things, scramble your thoughts. They're illegal. Illegal? Murphy yelled. Says who? Says the laws of magic, I muttered. You didn't say anything about any laws of magic, Murphy said. If we get out of here alive, I'll explain it to you sometime. We ran down a long aisle toward the back of the store, passing housewares and seasonal goods on our left, while grocery aisles stretched out on our right. Murphy stopped abruptly, broke open the covering over a fire alarm, and jerked it down. I looked around hopefully, but nothing happened. Damn, Murphy muttered. Worth a try. Look, people in the fog should be all right once it's gone, and whoever this is, they won't have any reason to hurt them once we're not around. We'll get out the back door and get away from here. Where are we going to go? I don't know, I confessed as I started moving again. But anywhere is better than where the bad guys chose to attack and have their pick of 100 hostages, right? Okay, Murphy said. Getting out of here is good. I bet the bad guys are counting on that, trying to flush us out into a dark alley. You carrying? Murphy was already drawing a gun from under her jacket, a well-used military-issue Colt 1911. Are you kidding? I noticed her hands were shaking. New gun? Old reliable, she said. You told me magic can jam a flaky gun. Revolver would be even better. Well, why don't I just throw rocks and sharp sticks while I'm at it, Tex? Auto bigot. I spotted an employees only sign. There, I said, and went that way, out the back. We headed for the swinging doors under the sign. I hit them first, shoving them open. A gray wall of mist lay in front of me, and I leaned back, trying to stumble to a halt. If I let myself touch the mist, I might not have enough of my wits left to regret it. I stumbled a foot short of it and almost fell backward, but Murphy grabbed my shirt and jerked me sharply back. We both backed out into the store. We can't get out that way, Murphy said. Maybe they don't want to hurt you anywhere. Maybe they just want to gash you and kill you while you're down. I swept my gaze around the store. Cold gray mist rolled forward, slow and steady in every direction. Looks like, I said. I nodded down a tall, narrow aisle containing auto parts. Down there, quick. What's down there? Murphy asked. Cover. I have to get us a defense against that mist. We reached the open space at the end of the aisle, and I nodded to Murphy. Here, stop here and stand close to me. She did it, but I could still see her shaking as she asked, why? I looked up. The mist had reached the far end of the aisle and was gliding slowly down it. I'm going to put up a circle that should keep it off of us. Don't step out of it or let any part of it cross you outside. Part of you cross outside. Murphy's voice took on a higher, more tense pitch. Harry, it's coming. I twisted open both salt shakers and started pouring them out in a circle around us, maybe 3 feet across. As I finished the circle, I invested it with the slightest effort of will of intent and enclosed with a sudden snap of silent, invisible energies. I stood up again, holding my breath until the mist touched it a moment later. It roiled up against the circle and stopped, as though a cylinder of plexiglass stood in between it and us. Murphy and I both let out our breath in slow exhalations. Wow, she said quietly. Is that like a force field or something? Only against magical energies, I said, squinting around us. If someone comes along with a gun, we're in trouble. What do we do? I think I can protect myself if I'm ready to do it, I said, but I need to set up a charm on you. A what? Charm, short-term magic. I fumbled at my shirt until I found a frayed thread and started pulling it out. I need a hair. Murphy gave me a suspicious frown, but she reached under her hat and unceremoniously jerked out several dark gold hairs. I plucked them up and twisted them together with a strand of thread. Give me your left hand. She did. Her fingers shook so hard that I could feel it when I put my own around them. Murph, I said. She kept looking up and down the aisle, her eyes a little wild. Karen, she looked up at me. She looked very young somehow. Remember what I said yesterday? She said. You're hurt. I said, you're hurt. But you'll get through it. You'll be okay. She closed her eyes tightly. I'm scared. I'm so scared. I'm sick. You'll get through it. What if I don't? I squeezed her fingers. Then I'll personally make fun of you every day for the rest of your life. I said, I will call you a sissy girl in front of everyone you know, tie frilly aprons on your car, and lurk in the parking lot at CPD and whistle and tell you to shake it, baby, every single day. Murphy's breath escaped in something like a hiccup. She opened her eyes, a mix of anger and weary amusement easing into the place I figured. You do realize I'm holding a gun, right? You're fine. Hold your hand still. Though her fingers still trembled a little, the wild panic spasms had ceased. I wrapped the twist of hair and thread around her finger. Murphy kept on peering through the mist, her gun steady. What are you doing? Enchantment like that, mist is invasive. I said, it touches you, gets inside you. So I'm setting you up with a defense. Left side is the side that takes in energy. I'm going to block that mist spell from going into you. Tie a string around your finger so you won't forget. I tied the string in almost complete knot so that it would need only a single tongue to finish. Then I fumbled my penknife out of my pocket and pricked the pad of my right thumb. I looked up at Murphy, trying to clear my thoughts for the spell. She regarded me, her face pale and uncertain. I've never really seen you, do it before. It's okay, I told her. I met her eyes for a dangerous second. I won't hurt you. I know what I'm doing. She lifted the corner of her mouth in a quick smile that made her eyes sparkle. She nodded and returned to peering out through the mist. I closed my eyes for a moment and then began gathering my focus for the spell. We were already within a circle, so it happened fast. The air tightened around my skin, and I felt the hairs along my arms rise as the power grew. Memoratum, I murmured. I tied off the improvised string and touched the beads of blood on my thumb to the knot. Defendere memoraris. The energy rushed out of me and into the spell, wrapping tight around the string and pressing against Murphy. A wave of goosebumps rippled up her arm, and she drew in a sudden, sharp breath. Whoa. I looked at her sharply. Murph, you okay? She blinked down her hand, then up at me. Wow, yeah. I nodded and took my pentacle out of my shirt. I wrapped it around my left hand, leaving the 5-pointed star laying against my knuckles. Okay, we're pushing our luck enough. Let's hope this works and get the hell out of here. Wait, you don't know if it'll work? It should work. It ought to. In theory. Great. Would it be better to stay here? That's a joke, right? Murphy nodded. Okay, how will we know if it works? We step outside the circle, and if we don't drift into La-La Land, I said, we'll know it worked. She braced her charmed hand on the butt of her gun. That's what I love about working with you, Dresden, the certainty. I broke the circle with a shuffle of my foot and an effort of will. It scattered with a pressured sigh, and the gray mist slid forward and over us. It glided over my skin like a cold and greasy oil. Something foul and cloying and vaguely familiar that made me want to start brushing it off. It writhed up over my arms, prickles of distraction and disorientation crawling over my limbs. I focused on the pinnacle in my left hand, the solid, cool weight of it, and the years of discipline and practice that it represented. I pushed the clinging mist away from my sensations, deliberately excluded it from my perception by sheer determination. A ripple of azure static flickered along the chain of my amulet, flashed around the pinnacle, and then faded, taking with it the distraction of the mind fog. Murphy glanced back at me and said, voice low, "You okay? You look shaky for a second." I nodded. "I got it now. You okay?" "Yeah, it doesn't feel like anything." "Damn, I'm good. Sometimes." "Go out through the garden center." Murphy had the gun. She walked in front. I kept my eyes open on her flanks as she headed down an aisle. We passed the customer and employee down a side aisle, pressed against a wall where they apparently tried to avoid the mist. Now they stood with the faintly puzzled expressions on their faces, eyes not focused. Another shopper, an old man, stood in an aisle, swearing precariously on his feet. I stopped beside him and said quietly, "Sir, here, sit down for a minute," and helped him sit down before he fell. We went past another slack-legged, staring employee, her blue smock marked with the dirt stains and smelling of fertilizer, and headed for the doors leading out to the garden center. My memory screamed a sudden alarm at me, and I lurched forward, diving past Murphy out into the mist-shrouded evening within the chain link boundaries of the garden center. A hard, sudden weight hit me, driving my thighs and hips down to the floor. My head whiplashed against it a moment later, complete with a burst of phantom light and very real pain. I rolled as the employee we just passed reversed her grip on it, a wickedly sharp set of pruners, and stabbed them down at me. I oozed to one side in a sluggish dodge. The steel tips of the tool tore through my shirt and some of my skin before biting into the concrete. I kept rolling and kicked at the woman's ankles. She avoided me with a kind of liquid agility, and I looked up into the human face of the ghoul assassin from the Reign of Toads, the tigress. She didn't look particularly pretty or particularly exotic or particularly anything. She looked like no one in particular. Medium height, medium build, no flattering curves, no outrageous flaws, no nothing. Medium brown hair of unremarkable cut and length. She wore jeans, a polo top, the Walmart smock, all very normal. Which just goes to show you how much people really just ignore retail workers for the most part, because they think we all look alike. Just saying. The gun she started drawing from under the smock commanded attention, though. A revolver, snub-nosed, but it moved with the kind of weight that made me think high caliber. I started trying to pull a shield together, but the defense I had been holding against the mist and the blow to my head tangled up the process. It slowed me down, not much, but enough to get me really dead. Murphy saved me as the tigress brought the gun to bear on me. Murphy closed with her, trapping the ghoul's gun arm with her own, and doing something with her left hand as she twisted her body at the hips, her strong legs spread wide. Murphy was a faithful practitioner of Aikido, and she knew about grappling. The tigress let out a shriek, not a girly, wow, does that hurt shriek, but the kind of furious, almost whistling sound you expect from a bird of prey. There was a snapping, popping sound, the clap of thunder, the roar of a discharge gun at close quarters. The sudden sharp smell of burnt powder, and the revolver went skittering free. The ghoul stabbed the pruners at Murphy, but she was already on the way out, grunting with effort. Her entire attack one circle that sent Tigress stumbling away into a stand of large potted ferns. Murphy spun to face the ghoul. She took a shooting stance and snarled, Get on your face on the floor. You're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent." The ghoul changed, skin tore at the corners of her mouth as it dropped open and gaped nightmarishly wide, canines lengthening and her lips peeled away from her teeth. Her shoulders jerked and twisted, hunched up and growing wider at the same time, her clothes stretching out while her body grew more hunched, her fingers lengthened, talons extending from the tips until her hands were spread as wide as the lawn rakes all on display behind her, and a fetid smell of decay and worse flooded out. Murphy's face went bloodless as she stared at the transformation. If she'd been dealing with an armed thug, I think she would have been fine, but the ghoul wasn't, and she wasn't. I saw the fear come surging through her, winding its way into her through the scars a maddened ghost had left on her spirit a year before. Panic hit her, her breath came in strangled gasps as a demon from a madman's nightmare clawed its way free of the bushes, spread its talons, and let out a rasping, quivering hiss. Murphy's gun started quivering, the barrel jerking erratically left and right. I struggled to get on my feet and back in the game, but my ears still rang, and the constant pressure of the mist slowed me down. The tigress must have seen the terror that held Murphy. A cop, eh? The ghoul rasped, drool foaming between its teeth, dribbling down its chin. It started slowly toward Murphy, claw tips dragging along the floor. Aren't you going to tell me that I have the right to an attorney? Murphy let out a small, terrified sound, frozen in place, her eyes wide. It laughed at her. Such a big gun for a sweet girl. You smell sweet. It makes me hungry. It continued forward, laughter still kissing every word, its distorted human voice continuing in steady murmur. Maybe I should let you arrest me. Wait until we're in the car. If you smell that good, I wonder how good you'll taste. I guess the girl shouldn't have laughed. Murphy's eyes cleared and hardened, the gun steady, and she said, Taste this, bitch! Murphy started shooting. The ghoul let out another shriek, this one full of surprise and pain. The bullets didn't drive her back. That's for comic books and TV. Real bullets just ripped through you like lead weights through cheesecloth. No gaping bloody holes appeared in the ghoul's chest, but sudden flowers of scarlet sprayed out from her back, covering the potted ferns with bloody dewdrops. The ghoul threw her arms up, recoiled, turning, screaming, and threw herself at the ferns. Murphy kept shooting. The ghoul stumbled and dropped down amid the ferns, still kicking and struggling wildly, knocking pots over, breaking others, scattering vegetable matter and dirt all over the floor. Murphy kept shooting. The gun clicked empty, and the ghoul half rolled onto her ruined back. The stolen blue smock now ripped with huge holes soaked through with blood. The ghoul choked and gagged, scarlet trickling out of her mouth. She let out another hiss, this one bubbling, and held up her hands in supplication. Wait! She rasped. Wait, please, you win. I give up. Murphy ejected the clip, put in a fresh one, and worked the slide on the gun. Then she took a shooting stance again and sighted down the barrel, her blue eyes calculating, passionless, merciless. She didn't see the sun's shadow against the mist to her right, huge and hulking, backlit by emergency lights at the other end of the garden center. I did, and finally shoved my dazed self back to my feet. Murph, I shouted, to your right. Murphy's head snapped around. She darted to her left, even as the garden hose swept down and shattered against the concrete where she had been standing. The ghoul scrambled back through the ferns and vanished into the mist, leaving blood smeared everywhere. Murphy backpedaled and shot at the form in the mist, then ducked as another arm swept a shovel in a scything arc that just missed her head. Grum the ogre rolled forward out of the mist in his scarlet-skinned, 12-foot-tall hulking form, a shovel clenched in one fist. Without slowing a step, he scooped up a 20-gallon ceramic pot and threw it at Murphy like a snowball. She scooted behind a stack of empty loading pallets, and the pot exploded against them. Magic would be useless against the ogre. I looked wildly around me, and then seized a jumbo-sized plastic bag of round-titted glass potting marbles. Hey, I shouted, tall, red, and ugly. Grum's head spun around further than I would have thought possible, the neck that thick, and his already beady eyes narrowed even more. He let out a bellowing roar and turned toward me, his huge feet slamming down on the concrete. I tore open the bag and dumped it out toward him. Blue-green marbles spread over the floor like a wave. Grum's foot slammed down on several as he advanced, and I'd hoped for the best. Grum continued toward me unslowed, and when his great foot lifted, I saw small circles of powdered glass on the ground. I snarled a curse and ran deeper into the garden center, Grum's footsteps heavy behind me. I heard Murphy shoot again, a pair of shots, and I tried to keep a mental count of her rounds. 4 in the new clip. Did she have another reload? And how many rounds did that Colt hold anyway? A sharper, more piercing report cracked through the area. Rifle fire. Murphy's Colt barked twice more, and she called, Harry, someone's covering the exit with gunfire. Kind of busy here, Murph, I shouted. What the hell is that thing? Fairy, I shouted. Grum was already trying to kill me, so there was no point in being diplomatic. It's a big, ugly fairy. I started swiping things off shelves to crash it in the aisle behind me. I'd gained some distance on Grum, but it could be that he just needed time to gather momentum. I heard him snarl again, and he took a swing with the shovel in his hand. He was short of me, but it whished loudly enough to make me flinch. I looked wildly for something made of steel to throw at the ogre or defend myself with. The mist kept me from seeing more than a couple yards ahead of me, and from what I could see, I was just heading deeper and deeper into the plant bending area. The smell of summer-heated greenery, of fertilizer, and mild rot filled my nose and mouth. I rounded the end of the aisle and ducked through a narrow grating out from under the canopy top that gave shade to this part of the garden center into the roofless area bounded with a high chain-link fence and filled with young trees and greenery standing in silent rows. Grum stopped. I looked round wildly for a way out to the parking lot large and checked how close the ogre was, flicking a glance back over my shoulder. Grum stopped at the gate to the fenced area and with a small smile on his lips swung the gate shut. As I watched, he covered his hand with a plastic trash bag and bent the latch like soft clay. Metal squealed and gate fences shut with no more effort than I would need to close a twist tie. My heart fell down through my stomach and I looked around me. The chain link fence was at least 9 feet high, and with a strand of barbed wire at the top meant to stop incursions of baby tree nappers, I guess. A second gate, much bigger, stood closed, and the latch had been twisted exactly like the other, warped closed. It was a neat little trap, and I'd been chased right into it. Damn it, I said. Grum let out a grating laugh, though I could barely see anything but his outline several yards away in the mist. You lose, wizard. Why are you doing this? I demanded. Who the hell are you working for? You got no guess? Grum said. That was a note of casual arrogance to his voice. Gee, that's too bad. Guess you go to your grave not knowing. If I had a nickel for every time I'd heard that, I muttered, looking around me. I had a few options. None of them were good. I could open a way into the never never and try to find my way through the spirit realm and back to the real world somewhere else. But if I did that, not only might I run into something even worse than I already had in front of me, if I got really unlucky, I might hit a patch of slower time and not emerge back into my Chicago for hours, even days. I might also be able to melt myself a hole in the fence with conjured flame, providing I didn't burn myself to a cinder doing it. I didn't have my blasting rod with me, and without my control could be shaky enough to manage just that. I could probably pile a bunch of baby trees, loading pallets and sacks of pot and so on against the outer wall of the chain link fence and climb out. I might get cut up on the barbed wire, but hell, that would be better than staying here. Either way, there was no time to waste standing around deciding. I turned toward the nearest city young trees, picked up a couple, and tossed them against the fence. Murphy, I'm stuck, but I think I can get cleared. Get out of here now. Murphy's voice floated to me, directionless in the fog. Where are you? Hell's bells, Murph, get out! Her gun barked twice more. Not without you. I threw more stuff on the pile. I'm a big boy. I can take care of myself. I took a long step up on the pile and tested my grip. It was enough to let me reach the top. I figured I could pull myself up and worry about the barbed wire when I got there. I started to climb out. I was looking at a face full of barbed wire and pushing at my fence with my toes when I felt something wrap around my ankles. I looked down and I saw a branch wrapped around my legs. I kicked at it irritably, and then as I watched, another branch lifted from the pile and joined the first, and then a third, and a fourth. The branches beneath my feet heaved, and I suddenly found myself hauled up in the air, swinging upside down from my heels. It was an awkward vantage point, but I watched as the trees and plants and soil I had thrown into a pile surged and writhed together. The young trees tangled their limbs together, growing before my eyes as they did, lengthening and growing thicker to become part of a larger whole. Other bits of greenery and clumps of dirt and writhing vines and leaves joined the trees, whipping through the air apparently of their own volition and adding to the mass of the thing that held me. It took shape and stood up. An enormous creature of vaguely human shape made all of earth and root and bough. A bough, twin points of brilliant emerald green light burning in its vine-writhing, leaf-strewn head. It had to have been 9 or 10 feet tall and nearly that far across. Its legs were thicker than me, and branches spread out above its head like vast horns against the background of luminous vine fog. The creature lifted its head and screamed, a sound of tortured wood and creaking limb and howling wind. Stars and stones, Harry, I muttered, my heart pounding. When will you learn to keep your mouth shut? Yes, he got assaulted by an ant. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Lordy. Oof. Chapter 20. Murphy, I screamed, get clear. The plant monster. No, wait. I couldn't possibly refer to this thing as plant monster. I'd be a laughing stock. It's hard to give a monster a cool name on the spur of the moment. But I used a name I'd heard Bob throw out before. The Chlorofiend lifted me up and shook me like a set of maracas. Chlorofiend, I like that. I focused on my shield bracelet, running my wheel, bolstered by sudden fear through the focus. My skin tingled as the shield formed around me, and I shaped it into a full sphere. I was barely in time. The Chlorofiend threw me at a post in the chain-link fence. Without the shield, it would have broken my back. I slammed into it, feeling the energy of the shield tighten around me, spreading the impact over the whole of my body and still solely at the point of impact. The shield transferred a portion of the kinetic energy of impact into heat and light, while the rest came through as an abrupt pressure. The result was like a sudden suit of oven-warmed elastic closing on me, and it felt about 3 sizes too small. It knocked the wind out of my lungs. Azure and argent light flashed in a vague sphere around me. I didn't bounce much, just fell to the concrete. The shield gave out a more feeble flash when I hit. I got up off the ground and dodged away from the chlorophene, but it followed me, slapping aside a stand of wooden tomato stakes with one leafy arm. Its glowing green eyes blazed as it came. I ran up against the fence at the back end of the lot, and the chlorophene's huge fist smashed down at me again. I lifted my shield bracelet against it, but the blow tossed me a dozen feet down the length of fence and into the set of huge steel partition shelves holding hundreds of 50-pound bags of mulch, potting soil, and fertilizer. I lay there dazed for a second, staring at an empty aisle proclaiming the huge scarlet letters, "We'd be gone, only $2.99. I clutched the display and got to my feet again in time to duck under the chlorophene's fist as it punched at my head. It hit one of the metal shelves instead of me, and there was a shriek of warping metal, a creaking yowl of pain from the fiend, and a burst of sizzling smoke. The creature drew its smoking fist back and screeched again, eyes blazing even brighter and angrier. "Steel," I muttered. "So you're a fairy something or other, too." I looked at the enormous shelves that ran down the length of them, and a second later I heard the chlorophene turn and begin pacing after me. I started gathering my will as I ran, and I allowed the physical shield to fall, leaving me only enough defense to keep the mist from blitzing my head. I would need every bit of strength I could muster to pull off my sudden and desperate plan, and if it didn't work, my shield wouldn't protect me for long in any case. Sooner or later, the chlorophene would batter its way through my defenses and pound me into plant food. Looks like we've got an ad break in just a few moments. I pulled ahead of it, but it started gaining momentum, catching up to me. As I reached the end of the row, the end of steel shelves, I turned to face it. Hell's bells, that thing was big, bigger than Grum. I could see it through it in places where twists of branches and leaves were not too closely clumped with the earth. But that didn't make it seem any less massive or dangerous. If this didn't work, I wasn't going to last long enough to regret it. Most magic is pretty time-consuming, what with drawing circles and gathering energies and aligning forces. Quick and dirty magic, evocation is drawn directly from a wizard's wheel and turned loose without the benefit of guide or limit. It's difficult and it's dangerous. I suck at evocation. I only knew a couple that I could do reliably, and even they required a focus, such as my shield bracelet or blasting rod, to be properly controlled. But for doing big, dumb things that require a lot of energy and not much finesse, I'm usually fine. I lifted my arms, and the mist was stirred by a sudden rush of moving air. The chlorophene pounded closer, and I closed my eyes, pouring more energy out, reaching for the wind. "Vento," I muttered, feeling more power stir. The chlorophene bellowed again, sending a jolt of fear through me, and the winds rose even more. "Vento! Vento! Ventus Servitus!" Power magic coursed through my outstretched arms and lashed out at the night. The wind rose in a sudden roar, a screaming cyclone that whirled into being just in front of me, and then whirled out toward the heavy metal shelving. The chlorophene screamed again, nearly drowned out by the windstorm I'd called only a few yards away. The enormous heavy shells, loaded with tons of materials, let out a groan of protest, then fell, toppled over onto the chlorophene with a deafening din that ripped at my ears and shook the concrete floor. The chlorophene was strong, but it wasn't that strong, and it went down like a bush under a bulldozer, shrieking again as the steel shells crushed it and burned into its substance. A foul grayish smoke rose from the wreckage, and the chlorophene continued to scream and thrash, the shells jerking and moving. Exhaustion swept over me with the effort of the spell, and I glowered down at the fallen shelves. "Down," I panted, "but not out. Damn it." I watched the shells for a moment and decided that the chlorophene probably would shrug it off for a few minutes. I shook my head and headed for the gate into the enclosure. Hopefully Grum hadn't twisted things up so badly I couldn't get out. He had. The metal latch on the gate had been pinched into a mess by his talons. They had scored the metal into sharp notches like industrial cutter. Note to self: don't think steel can stop Grum's fingernails. I checked above, decided to risk climbing the fence and getting through the barbed wire. I'd gotten maybe halfway up the chain link when Murphy limped out of the mist on the other side, her gun pointed right at me. "Whoa, Murph," I said. I showed her my hands and promptly fell off the fence. "It's me." She lowered the gun and let out her breath. "Christ, Harry, what are you doing?" "Texas cage match. I won." From behind me, the chlorophene let out another shriek, and the shelving groaned as it shifted. I gulped and looked back. "Rematch doesn't look promising, though. Where have you been?" She rolled her eyes. "Shopping." "Where's Grum and the ghoul?" "Don't know. The ghoul's blood trail went out, but someone shot at me when I followed it. Haven't seen the ogre." She blinked at the gate's latch. "Damn, guess he shut you in here, huh?" "Pretty much. You get shot?" "No, why?" "You're limping." Murphy grimaced. "Yeah, one of those bastards must have thrown a bunch of marbles on the floor. I slipped on one. It's my knee." "Oh." I said, "Ugh." Murphy blinked at me. "You did that?" "Well, it was a plan at the time." "Harry, that's not a plan. That's a Looney Tune." Kill me later. Help me out here now. I squinted up the barbed wire. Maybe if you get a rake, you can push it up for me so I can slide it in between it and the fence. So I can slide between it and the fence. We're 20 feet from the hardware department, genius. Murphy said. She limped back into the mist and returned with half a minute later carrying a pair of bolt cutters. She cut a slit in the chain link fence and I squeezed through it while the chlorophene thrash still pinned. I could kiss you, I said. Murphy grinned. You smell like me nearer, Harry. The smile faded. What now? The trap monster's thrashing sent several smaller shells toppling over, and I rubbernecked nervously. Getting out is still the first priority. That thing is down, but it'll be coming before long. What is it? Chlorophene, I said. What? Plant monster. Oh, right. We need to get out. Murphy shook her head. Whoever's covering the exit out front can probably see the other doors, too. A silhouette in the doorway is a great target. It's just like the shooting range. How the blazes did they see you through the mist? Is that really important right now? They can, and it means we can't go out the front. Yeah, I said, you're right. The main exits are covered. That thing is in the garden center, and 10 to 1 Ogre Grum is watching the back. Ogre, check. What's his deal? Bullets bounce off of him, and he shakes off magic like a duck does water. He's strong and pretty quick and smarter than he looks. Murphy let out a soft curse. You can't blast him like you did the Loup-Garou? I shook my head. I gave him a hard shot once already. I may as well have been spitting on him. Doesn't look like we have much of a choice for getting out. And even if we do, Grummer, that plant thing could run us down, so we'll need wheels. We have to go through one of them. I know, I said, and head back to the store. Where are you going? Murphy demanded. I have a plan. She limped after me. Better than the Looney Tune one, I hope. I grunted in reply. No need to agree with her. We both realized that if this plan wasn't better than the last one, then as Porky Pig would say, that's all, folks. All right, we got an ad break coming up in just a moment. I'm going to take a brief break myself and stretch and things. Yep. And for those of you tuned in on YouTube, we are taking about a 3-minute ad break on the Twitchy Eyes. And so bear with us just a moment for me to take a swig of tea and take a slight stretch break. Probably going to be reading for about another 30 minutes and then taking a quick break just so I can... I hope Marty's okay. Uh-oh. I got a bad feeling. Usually when somebody is having to bow out of a stream for personal reasons, it only means a handful of things. And that's never good. Sorry, a friend of mine had a announcement saying that Marty wasn't going to stream tonight. I hope he'll be okay. Of course, the community and myself included wishes Marty all the best and hope everything's okay on his end. If he and his community need anything, all they have to do is ask. Anyway, we have an ad break for about another minute and a half for those of you on YouTube. Let me put up the link here on the Twitch, guys, for those of you that aren't already following me. And I know that some of you might not be able to hear what I have to say due to the ad break, but there it is. Like I said, I'm going to be reading for about another 30 minutes, and then we're going to swap over and play a little Dreamlight Valley. They did drop some new content today. Yes, I'm already updated, because I didn't slack-a-lack this time. Sometimes I do, and that's really stupid of me. And as you might be able to hear, I'm actually flipping around there. Friday, I do have plans to stream, and it's going to be a very mixed stream because there's a lot of things that I want to touch on. Because I am part of that playtest, and I need to do it and get it done so that things can move on with that. Also, I just got offered another playtest, this time for more of a cozy game. And I'm actually wanting to play some Cyberpunk at some point. Hopefully next week I'll get started on some Cyberpunk. We'll have to see how my schedule turns out. Speaking of, let's see if she's... I doubt very much she should have posted it just yet. What is? And welcome back from the ad break. Me. Well, I can't. Oh, there it is. What the radio? Anyway, I don't know you. Anyway, back to the action. We're like I said, we're knee deep in the Walmart getting chased by fairies. So, chapter 21. 3 minutes later, Murphy and I went out the back door and Grum was waiting for us. He rose up out of the shadows by the large trash bins with a bull elephant's bellow and stomped toward us. Murphy, dragging a leg and wrapped somewhat desperately in a plaid auto blanket, let out a shrill cry and turned to run, but tripped and fell into the ground before the ogre. I kept my left hand back behind my back and lifted my right. Flame danced from my cupped fingers, and I thundered, "Grum!" The ogre's beady eyes turned to me, glittering. He let out another rumbling snarl. "Stand thee from my path!" I called in that same overdramatic voice, "lest I grow weary of thee and bereft thee of thy life." The ogre focused wholly on me now, striding forward past the whimpering form of Murphy. "I do not fear thy power, mortal," he snarled. I lifted my chin and waved my fire-holding hand around a bit. "This is thy last warning, fairy dog." Grum's beady eyes grew angrier. He let out a harsh laugh and did not slow down. "Feeble mortal trickster, thy spellfire means nothing to me. Do thy worst." Behind Grum, Murphy threw the auto blanket off her shoulders, and one rip of the starting cord fired up her shiny new comb and chainsaw. She engaged the blade with a hissing whir of air, and without preamble swung it in an arc that ended precisely at the back of Grum's thick, hairy knee. The steel blade chewed the ogre's hide as if it were made of styrofoam. Blood and bits of meat flew up in a gruesome cloud. The ogre screamed, his body contorting in agony. The scarlet skin around the injury immediately swelled, darkening to black, and tendrils of infectious-looking darkness spread from the wound up over the ogre's leg and hip within the space of a breath. He swept one huge fist at Murphy, but she was already getting out of his reach. The ogre's weight came down on the injured leg, and Grum fell to earth with a heavy thud. I started forward to help, but everything was happening fast, and my movements felt nightmarishly slow. The ogre rolled to his belly at once, maddened at the touch of iron in the chainsaw's blade, and started dragging himself toward Murphy faster than I would have believed, with just his arms, talons gouging into the concrete. She hurried away from him, limping, but Grum slammed one fist down the concrete so hard that half a dozen feet away she was jarred off balance and fell. Grum got a hold of Murphy's foot and started dragging her back toward him. She let out a hollow gasp and twisted and wriggled. She slipped out of her sneaker and hauled herself away from the ogre, her face gone white and drawn. I ran up behind Grum, pulling my left hand out from behind my back, the fingers of my right hand still curled around the flickering flame I'd shown the ogre. A large yellow and green pump-pressure water gun sloshed a little in my left fist. I lowered it and squeezed the trigger. A stream of gasoline sprayed out all over Grum's back, soaking the ogre's skin. Grum whirled toward me halfway through, and I shot the gasoline into his eyes and nose, eliciting another scream. He bared his fangs and glared at me through his eyes swollen almost shut. "Wizard," he said, hardly understandable through the fangs of the drool, "your spell flame will not stop me." I turned my right hand slowly and showed Grum the burning can of sterno I had been palming. "Good thing I got this plain old vanilla fire then, huh?" And I tossed the lit can of sterno onto the gasoline-soaked ogre. Hamstrung and blazing like a birthday candle, Grum screamed and thrashed. I skipped back and around him, helping Murphy up to her feet as the ogre slammed himself against the ground and then back against the back wall of the Walmart. He did that in a frenzy for maybe 20 seconds before uttering an odd, ululating cry and hurling himself at a deep shadow behind a trash bin and vanished, the light from the flames simply disappearing. Murphy got up only with my help, her face still pale with pain. She put no weight at all on her wounded leg. "What happened?" "We whipped him," I said. "We packed up and headed back to Ferry." "For good?" I shook my head. "For now. How's your leg?" "Hurts. I think I broke something. I can hop on the other one." "Lean on me," I said. We went a few paces and she swayed dangerously. I caught her before she toppled. "Murph?" Sorry, she gasped. "Hopping. Bad idea." I helped her back down to the ground. "Look, stay here against the wall. I'll get the beetle and pull it around here to you." Murphy was in enough pain to keep her from arguing. She did draw her gun, switch the safety on, and offer it to me. I shook my head. "Keep it. You might need it." Dresden, Murphy said, my gun has been about as useful as a fabric softener at a steel mill tonight, but someone out there has a rifle. If they're using one, it's because they're a human and you don't have most of your magic stuff with you. Take the gun. She was right, but I argued anyway. I can't leave you defenseless, Murph. Murphy hauled up the leg of her jeans and pulled a tiny automatic from an ankle holster. She worked the slide, checked the safety, and said, I'm covered. I took the coat, checked the chamber and the safety, more or less by reflex. That's a cute little gun there, Murph. She scowled at me. I have small ankles. It's the only one I can hide there. I chanted, teasing, Murphy's got a girl gun. Murphy's got a girl gun. Murphy glowered at me and hauled the chainsaw to within easy reach. Come a little closer and say that. I snorted at her. Give me a couple minutes. I said, I'll tell you it's me. Some of these bad guys can play dress up. So if you're not sure who it is. Murphy nodded, pale and resolved, and rested her hand on the gun. I drew a deep breath and walked through the mist around the side of the building toward the front parking lot. I kept close to the wall and moved quietly as I could, listening as I went. I gathered up energy from the shield bracelet and held my left hand ready. I held the gun in my right, holding a pair of defenses focused around my left hand. I'd have to do all my shooting with my right. I'm not a very good shot, even when I can use both hands, so I just had to hope no sharpshooting would be required. I got to the front of the building before I heard something click in the fenced area of the garden center. I swallowed and pointed the Colt at it, noting that I wasn't sure how many rounds the gun had left. As I came closer through the mist, I saw the chain fence around the ruined area where I'd been trapped with the chlorophene. It had been torn down in a swath 10 feet wide, and from what I could see of the inside, the tree thing wasn't there anymore. Great. I took a few steps closer to the break in the fence to stare at the ruined chain link. I had bent, stretched wire, but still hot enough to burn where it had torn. Instead, I found edges cut off as neatly as with a set of clippers and coated with frost. I checked around on the ground and found sections of wire, none of them longer than 2 or 3 inches. Steam curled up from the cold in the air near the fence made me shiver. The fence had been frozen, chilled until the steel had become brittle and shattered. Winter, I muttered. I guess that wasn't much of a stretch. I swept my eyes around through the mist, left my ears open, and paced as quiet as I could toward the dim, flickering lights that lay somewhere ahead in the parking lot. I'd parked the Beetle in an aisle almost even with the front doors, but I didn't have a reference point through the mist. I just hit it out, picked the first row of cars, and started prowling silently among them, looking for the Beetle. My car wasn't in the first row, but a thin stream of some kind of yellowish fluid was. I traced it to the next row and found the Beetle sitting there in its motley colors. Another leak. They weren't exactly unheard of in a wizard's car, but this would be a hell of a time for the Beetle to get hospitalized. I got in and set the gun down long enough to shove my keys in the ignition. My trusty steed wheezed and groaned a few times, but the engine turned over with an apologetic cough, and the car rattled to life. I put it in gear, pulled through the empty space in front of me, and headed back to the building to get Murphy. I had just passed the garden center with its ruined fence when my windows abruptly frosted over. It happened in the space of a breath, ice crystals forming and growing like plants on a stop-motion film until my view was completely cut off. The temperature had dropped maybe 50 degrees and the car sputtered. If I hadn't given it a bunch of gas, it would have stalled. The Beetle lurched forward and I rolled down the window, sticking my head out of the sight in an effort to see what was going on. The chlorophene loomed up out of the mist and brought one huge knobby fist down the Beetle like an organic wrecking ball. The force of it crumpled the hood like tinfoil and drove the shocks down so that the frame smushed up against the tires. The impact threw me forward against the steering wheel and drove the breath out of me with a shock of pain. The impact would have rolled any car with an engine under the hood. Most of the mass of the car would have been driven down. The lighter rear end would have flipped up and me without my seatbelt would have bounced around like a piece of popcorn. The old Volkswagens, though, have their engines in the back. Most of the weight of the car got bounced up a little in the air and then came back down to the ground with a jolt. I slammed my foot on the gas harder, and the Beetle's engine spurted gamely in response. As big and strong as the chlorophene might be, it wasn't solid and wasn't as heavy as a living mass the same size. The Beetle bounced up from the blow and had crumpled the empty storage compartment under the hood and slammed into the chlorophene without losing much of its momentum. The beast let out a shriek of what might have been surprise and was definitely pain. My car hammered into it with a flickering of scarlet static, and a cloud of smoke from the substance of the fairy creature swept under its legs and drove the chlorophene atop its hood. I kept my foot on the gas, held the wheel steadily as I could with one hand, stuck my head out the window so I could see. The chlorophene screamed again, the magic around it gathering in a cloud that made the hairs on my neck stand up, but the Beetle rattled through the attempt to hex it down, carrying the chlorophene the length of the Walmart garden center into the back of the building. Think of it as payback for all those telephone poles, I muttered to the Beetle and slammed on the brakes. The chlorophene rolled off my car, skidded onto the asphalt, and slammed into the side of the metal trash bin with a yowl of pain and exploding cloud of dirt clods. Only one of my headlights appeared to have survived the attack, and even it flickered woozily through the mist and the cloud of dust and dirt rising from the chlorophene. I slammed the car into the reverse, backed up a few more feet, and then put it back into neutral. I raced the engine, then popped the clutch and sent the beetle hurling at the monster. I braced myself for the impact this time, pulled my head in before I hit. The impact felt violent, shockingly loud, and viscerally satisfying. The chlorophene let out a broken-sounding creak, but until I backed the car up and whipped the wheel around so that I could see out the side window, I couldn't tell what had happened. I had torn the thing in half at about the middle, pinching it between the battered frost-colored beetle and the metal trash bin. Thank the stars it hadn't been a fiberglass job. The legs lay against the trash bin, now only a pile of twisted saplings and earth, while the arms flailed toward me a dozen long paces away, uselessly found in the asphalt. I spat out my window, put the car into gear again, and went to get Murphy. I jumped out of the car and had to wrench the passenger door hard to get it open. Murphy pushed herself up, using the wall for support, and stared at the frost-covered beetle with wide eyes. What the hell happened? The plant monster. The plant monster and Frosty the Snowman? I got on her wounded side to support her. I took care of it. Let's go. Murphy let out another small sound of pain, but she didn't let it stop her from hobbling toward the car. I was just about to help her in when she shouted, "Harry," and threw her weight against me. The chlorophene, the upper half, had somehow clawed its way out of the mist, and one long viny limb was reaching for me. I fell back away from it, tried to shield Murphy with my body. It got me. I felt fingers the size of young tree trunks wrap around my throat and jerk me away from Murphy like I was a puppy. More branch fingers got one of my thighs, and I felt myself suspended in air and pulled slowly apart. "Meddler," hissed an alien voice from somewhere into the chlorophene glowing eyes. "You should have never involved yourself in these affairs. You have no concept of what is at stake. Die for your arrogance." I tried for a witty riposte, but my vision blacked out and my head felt like it was trapped in a slowly tightening vise. I tried gathering forces, attempting to push them through my shield bracelet, but the moment I did, there was a rustle of wood and leaves, and the bracelet snapped off my wrist, broken. I tried to gather another spell and realized that, as I did, that my concentration had wavered too much and that my defense against the insidious enchantment of the mist had begun to fail. My thoughts broke apart in regular pieces, and I struggled to reach for them and put them together again as the pressure of my body increased, became a red-hot agony. I only dimly heard the chainsaw start up again, and Murphy's scream of challenge. The charm she wore wasn't relying on my concentration. It wouldn't last long, but it would keep the mist away from her for a few more minutes. The chlorophene let out a shriek, and I heard the saw biting into wood, felt wood chips hitting my face. I tumbled free, sapling branches tangled around my head and shoulders, leaves and dirt scratching my face. My leg was still in the chlorophene grip, but I could breathe again. The mist pressed close to me, giving me a sense of detachment and disinterest. It was hard to make any sense of what happened next. Murphy hopped closer, her weight on the one leg, and swept the chainsaw through the chlorophene's other arm. I fell to the ground, more inert tree parts around me. The chlorophene waved its arms at Murphy, but they didn't have the crippling force I'd seen it used before. They merely jostled her and knocked her down. Murphy snarled, crawling on her hands and knees, dragging the chainsaw with her. She lifted it again, drove it at the creature's head, engine racing, blades singing through the air. The chlorophene screamed in protest and in frustration, lifting the stumps. Get it? Stumps. Of its arms in a feeble defense. Murphy tore through them with the chainsaw, snicker-snack, and then drove the blade directly between the chlorophene glowing green eyes. The monster shrieked again, writhing, but its arms never managed to do more than shove Murphy around a bit. And it let out a final groan, and the eyes winked shut. The eyes winked out. Murphy suddenly sat atop a mound of dirt and leaves and gnarled branches. I lay there, staring stupidly at her. Then I heard a gunshot, the sharp cracking report of a rifle. Murphy threw herself down and rolled toward me. A second shot rang out in a puff of leaves a foot to Murphy's right, leapt through the air. Another sound cut through the night, police sirens getting closer. Murphy dragged me and herself over the ground toward the car. I heard a harsh curse somewhere in the mist, and then a pair of footsteps retreating. A moment later, I thought the mist was starting to thin out. "Harry," Murphy said, shaking me. I blinked at her, and the relief showed in her worried expression. "Harry, can you hear me?" I nodded. My mouth felt dry and my body ached. I fought to clear my head. "Get us in the car," I said. She said, enunciating the words, "Get us in the car and get us out of here." The car, right. I hauled Murphy into the Beetle, got in myself, and stared at the frosted windshield. The heat of the summer night was already melting the frost away, and I could see through it in spots. "Harry," Murphy said, and exasperated, her voice thin and shaky. "Drive!" "Oh, right, drive. Get out." I put the beetle in gear more or less, and we rushed out to the parking lot and out of the mist. Gotta love it when a weapon of convenience works out, don't you? I think I have one more chapter in me, and then we're going to adjourn for a quick break. And then we are going to swap over to Disney Dreamlight Valley for a little while. And I hope you guys are enjoying the book as much as I am. Chapter 22. You're kidding, Billy said, his voice touched with disbelief. A chainsaw? Where'd you get the gasoline? Murphy looked up from her wounded leg in the willowy Georgia, who had cut her jeans away and was cleaning out the long gashes she had acquired from ankle to mid-calf. Gas generator, backup power supply for all the food freezers. They had a 10-gallon plastic jug of it. Billy's apartment was not a large one, and with a dozen people in it, even with the air conditioning running full blast, it was too hot and too crowded. The Alphas, Billy's werewolf accomplices, were out in force. We'd been challenged by a tall, thin young man in the parking lot and shadowed to the door by a pair of wolves who just kept far enough away to make it difficult to see them in the shadows. When I'd first seen them, the Alphas had been a collection of misfits with bad hair, acne, and wannabe tough guy leather outfits, and the year and a half since they'd changed. None of them had that pale look anymore. None of them looked wheezy, and like Billy, the kids who had been carrying baby fat had swapped it for lean, fit muscle. They hadn't become a gang of Hollywood soap opera stars or anything like that, but they looked more relaxed, more confident, more happy. I saw some scars, some of them quite vicious, showing on bare limbs. Most of the kids wore sweats or those pullover knit dresses, garments that could be gotten in and out of in a hurry. Pizza boxes were stacked 3 deep on the table, and a cooler of soft drinks sat on the floor nearby. I piled a plate with half-warm pizza, picked up a Coke, and found a comparatively empty stretch of wall to lean against. Billy shook his head and said, "Look, Harry, some of this doesn't make sense. I mean, if they could really run around doing this kind of mind fog thing, shouldn't we have heard about it by now?" I snorted and sat around a mouthful of pizza. "It's pretty rare, even in my circles. No one who got hit with it will remember it. Check the paper tomorrow. 10 to 1 emergency services showed up after we left, put out the fires, pulled a bunch of the confused people out of the building, and the official explanation is a leaky gas line." Billy snorted. "That doesn't make any sense. There's not going to be any evidence of an exploding line. No leak is going to show up at a gas company. No continuing fire with leaking gas." I kept eating. "Get real, Billy," I said. "You think people are going to be taken seriously by City Hall if they tell them? We really don't know what messed up all these people. We don't know what caused all the danger. We don't know why no one heard it or saw anything. We don't know what the reports of gunshots at the scene were about. Hell no. People would be accused of incompetence, publicly embarrassed, fired. No one wants that. So gas leak. But it's stupid. It's life. The last thing the 21st century wants to admit is that it might not know everything." Sure, words were never spoken. I popped open the Coke and guzzled some. "How's the leg, Murph?" "It hurts," Murphy reported considerately, leaving out the implied "you idiot." Georgia stood up from attending Murphy's leg and shook her head. She was nearly a foot taller than Billy and had bound her blonde hair back into a tight braid. It emphasized the gauntness of her features. "The cuts and bruises are nothing major, but your knee could be seriously damaged. You should have it checked out by a real doctor, Lieutenant Murphy." "Karen," Murphy said. "Anyone who mops up my blood can call me Karen." I tossed Murphy a Coke. She caught it and said, "Except you, Dresden. Any diet?" I put several slices of pizza on a paper plate and passed them over. "Live a little." "All right, Karen," Georgia said, folding her arms. If you don't want a $25,000 surgery along with 7 or 8 months of rehab, we need to get you to the hospital." Murphy frowned and then nodded and said, "Let me eat something first. I'm starving." "I'll get the car," Georgia said. She turned to Billy. "Make sure she doesn't put any weight on her leg when you bring her down. Keep it straight if you can." "Got it," Billy said. "Phil, Greg, get that blanket. We'll make a litter out of it." "I'm not an infant," Murphy said. I put my hand on her shoulder. "Easy," I said in a quiet voice. "They can handle themselves." "So can I." "You're hurt, Murph," I said. "If you were one of your people, you'd be telling you to shut up and stop being part of the problem." Murphy shot me a glower, but its edge was blunted by the big mouthful of pizza she took. "Yeah, I know, but I just hate being sidelined." I grunted. "What are you going to do?" she asked. Shook my head, finished his Coke. "I haven't planned much past that." "All right, Harry, look.
I'll be home in a few hours. I'll keep digging, see if I can turn anything up about Lloyd Slate. If you need information on anything else, get in touch. You should rest, I told her. She grimaced at her leg. Her knee was swollen to a couple of times its normal size. Looks like I'm going to have plenty of time for that. I grunted again and looked away. Hey, Harry, Murphy said. When I didn't look at her, she continued, What happened to me wasn't your fault. I knew the risks and I took them. You shouldn't have had to. No one should. We live in an imperfect world, Dresden. In that case, this hasn't yet become obvious enough for you. In case that hasn't yet become obvious enough for you. She nudged my leg with her elbow. Besides, you were lucky I was there. The way I count it, I'm the one who's put on the boots. A smile threatened my expression. You did what? Put on the boots, Murphy said. I put on the boots and kicked some monster ass. I dropped the ghoul, and I'm the one who rammed a chainsaw through the head of that plant monster thing. Crippled the ogre, too. What did you do? You threw a can of sterno at him. That's barely an assist. Yeah, but I soaked him in gasoline first. She snorted at me around more pizza. Shut out. Whatever. Murphy 3, Dresden 0. You didn't do all of it. I put on the boots. I raised my hand. Okay, you got boots, Murph. She sniffed and almost took a dainty sip of Coke. Lucky I was there. I squeezed her shoulder and said with no particular inflection, Yes, thank you. Murphy smiled up at me from the window. One of the alphas reported, Car's ready. Billy and a couple more laid out a blanket and then carefully lifted Murphy onto it. She tolerated them with a roll of her eyes, but hissed with discomfort even at the gentle motion. Call, she said. Will, watch your back, Harry. Then they carried her out. I picked up some more pizza, exchanged some more or less polite chit-chat with some of the alphas, and made my escape through the crowded living room of the apartment to the balcony. I shut the sliding glass door behind me. Only one light in the parking lot provided any illumination, so that the balcony was mostly covered in sheltering shadows. The night was a close one, humidity cooking along at that lazy summer broil, but even so it felt less claustrophobic than the crowded apartment. I watched Billy and the Alphas load Murphy into a minivan and drive off. Then there was as much silence as you could ever get in Chicago. The hiss of tires on asphalt was a constant liquid background, punctuated with occasional sirens, horns, and mechanical squeaks and squeals, and the buzzing of one lost locust that must have been perched on a building nearby. I put my paper plate on the wooden balcony railing, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath, trying to clear my head. Penny for your thoughts, said a quiet female voice. I nearly jumped off the balcony in sheer reaction. My hand brushed the paper plate. The pizza fell into the parking lot below. I whirled around and found Meryl sitting in a chair at the other end of the balcony, deep in shadows, her large form nothing more than a solid piece of darkness. But her eyes gleamed in the half-light, reflecting traces of red. She watched the plate fall and said, Sorry. It's okay, I said, just a little nervous tonight. She nodded. I was listening. I nodded back to her and returned to looking at nothing, listening to night sounds. After a while, she asked me, Does it hurt? I waved my bandaged hand idly, sort of. Not that, she said. I meant watching your friend get hurt. Some of my racing thoughts coalesced into irritated anger. What kind of question is that? A simple one. I took an angry hit from my can of Coke. Of course it hurts. You're different than I thought you'd be. I squinted over my shoulder at her. They tell stories about you, Mr. Dresden. It's all a lie. Her teeth gleamed. Not all of them are bad. Mostly good or mostly bad? Depends on who's talking. The she crowd thinks you're an interesting mortal pet of mobs. The vampire wannabe crowd thinks you're some kind of psychotic vigilante with a penchant for vengeance and mayhem, sort of a one-man Spanish Inquisition. Most of the magical crowd thinks you're distant and dangerous, but smart and honorable. Crooks think you're a hitman for the outfit, or maybe one of the families back east. Straights think you're a fraud trying to bilk people out of their hard-won cash, except for Larry Fowler, who probably wants you on the show again. I regard her frowning. What do you think? I think you need a haircut. She lifted a can to her mouth, and I caught a whiff of beer. Bill called all the morgues and hospitals. No Jane Doe with green hair. Didn't figure there would be. I talked to Aurora. She seemed concerned. She would. She's everyone's big sister. Thinks she needs to take care of the whole world. She didn't know anything. Meryl shook her head and was quiet for a while before she asked, What's it like being a wizard? I shrugged. Mostly it's like being a watch fob repairman. It's both difficult and not in demand the rest of the time. More emotion rose in me, threatening my self-control. Meryl waited. The rest of the time I picked up as scary as hell. You start learning the kinds of things that go bump in the night, and you figure out that ignorance is bliss is more than just a quotable quote. And it's... I clenched my hands. It's so damn frustrating. You see people getting hurt, innocents, friends. I try to make a difference, but I usually don't know what the hell is going on until someone's already dead. Doesn't matter what kind of job I do. I can't help those folks. Sounds hard, Meryl said. I shrugged. I guess it isn't any different than what anyone else goes through. The names just get changed. I finished off the coat and stomped the dead soldier's lap. What about you? What's it like being a changeling? Meryl rolled the beer can between her broad hands. About like anyone until you hit puberty. Then you start feeling things. What kinds of things? Different, depending on your she half. For me, it was anger, hunger. I gained a lot of weight. I kept losing my temper over the most idiotic things. She took a drink. And strength. I grew up on a farm. My older brother rolled a tractor and it pinned him, broke his hip, and caught on fire. I picked it up and threw it off of him, and then dragged him back to the house more than a mile. I was 12. My hair had turned this color by the next morning. Troll, I said quietly. She nodded. Yeah, I don't know the details about what happened, but yeah, every time I let those feelings get loose, the more I lost my temper and used my strength, the bigger and stronger I got. And the worse I felt about what I did. She shook her head. Sometimes I think it'd be easier just to choose the she half, to stop being human, stop hurting. If it wasn't for the others needing me, it would turn you into a monster. But a happy monster, she finished her beer. I should go and check on Fix. He's sleeping now, and try to call Ace. What are you going to do? Try to add up some facts, meet some contacts, interview more queens, maybe get a haircut. Her teeth showed again in a smile, and she rose. Good luck. She went back into the noisy apartment and shut the door. I closed my eyes and tried to think. Whoever sent the tigress, Grum, the chlorophene, and the lone gunman after me has been trying to kill me. It was a reasonable assumption then I was on the right track. Generally speaking, the bad guys don't try to bump off an investigator unless they're worried he's actually about to find something. But if that's true, then why had the Tigers taken a shot at me the day before I got the case? She could have been working for the Red Court and taken a new contract that just happened to be me, but it didn't sound likely. If the ghoul had been on the same contract, it meant that I'd been judged a threat to the killer's plans from day one, if not sooner. The frost in my car's windows had probably been the doing of someone from Winter. I mean, a wizard could do the same thing, but as devastating spells go, one that seemed to be kind of limited. The ghoul presumably would work for anyone who paid. The chlorophene, though, I hadn't expected it to talk or be intelligent. The more I thought about the plant monster, the more things didn't add up. It had picked the spot and had its allies herd me into it. That wasn't the behavior of your average thug or even the magical variety. It had a sense of personal conflict about it, as if the chlorophene had been a particular bone to pick with me. And how the hell had Murphy killed it? It was stronger than your average bulldozer, for crying out loud. It had socked me once when I had my full shield going. It still hurt. It had clipped me a couple times and nearly broken bones. The chlorophene should have flattened Murphy into a puddle of slurry. It hit her at least a dozen times, and yet it seemed like it only tapped her, as though unable to risk doing more damage. Then a light bulb flashed on Summer in my musty brain. The chlorophene hadn't been a being as such. It had been a construct, a magical vessel for an outside awareness, an awareness both intelligent and commanding, but one who could not, for some reason, kill Murphy when she attacked it. Why? Because, Harry, you idiot, Murphy isn't attached to either of the fairy courts, I told myself out loud. Well, what's that got to do with it? I asked myself again out loud, and people think I'm crazy. Pretty pages. Remember, the queens can't kill anyone who isn't attached to the courts through birthright or bargain. She couldn't kill Murphy, neither could the construct she was guiding. Damn, I muttered, you're right. A queen seemed reasonable then, probably from the winter. Or more realistically, the frosted windshield could have been a decoy. Either way, I couldn't figure who would have had a reason to come after me with something as elaborate as a mind fog and a veritable army of assassins. Which reminded me, the mind fog had to have come from somewhere. I wasn't sure if the queens could have managed something like that outside a fairy. If they couldn't, it meant that the killer had a hired gun, someone who could pull off a delicate and dangerous spell like that. I started running down that line of thought, but only a moment later the wind picked up into a stiff, whistling breeze that roared through the air and swept down through the city. I frowned at the sun's shift in the wind and looked around. I didn't find anything obvious, but when I glanced up, I saw the lights going out. A vast cloud bank was racing north fast enough that I could see it eating the stars. A second wall of clouds was sailing south toward the first bank. They met in only moments, but as they did, light flashed from cloud to cloud, brighter than daylight, and thunder shook the balcony beneath my feet. Not long after that, a drop of freezing cold water landed on my head, quickly followed by a mounting torrent of chilly rain. The still rising wind whipped it into a miserable downpour. I turned and pulled up in the door to the apartment with a frown. The Alphas were peering out windows, speaking quietly with one another. Across the room, Billy finished messing around with the television, and rather frumpled-looking weatherman appeared, the image flickering with interference lines and bursts of snow. Guys, Billy said. Hush, let me listen. He turned up the volume. A truly unprecedented event, an enormous Arctic blast that came charging like a freight train through Canada and across Lake Michigan to Chicagoland. And if that wasn't enough, a tropical front settled quietly in the Gulf of Mexico has responded in kind, rushing up the Mississippi River in a sudden heat wave. They've met right over Lake Michigan, and we have received several reports of rain and bursts of hail. Thunderstorm warnings have been issued all throughout the Lake Michigan area, and a tornado watch is in progress for the next hour in Cook County. National Weather Service has also issued a flash flood warning and a travel advisory for the eastern half of Illinois. This is some beautiful but very violent weather, ladies and gentlemen. We urge you to remain in shelter until the storm has time to. Billy turned the volume down, and I looked around the room and found nearly a dozen sets of eyes focused on me, patient and trusting. Bah! Harry, Billy said at last, this isn't a natural storm, is it? I shook my head and got another Coke out of the cooler and headed direct tiredly for the door. Side effect like the toads. What does it mean? I opened the door and said without looking back, it means we're running out of time. All right. And that, my friends and neighbors, is the end of another story time with Cyn. I appreciate you listening and lurking and enjoying the story thus far. It is slowly heating up to a very tumultuous climax, and we will hopefully be able to reconvene on another Wednesday soon in the future to read more of it. Dun 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 dun. Hey, bunny. Just to let you guys know, I will be taking back up the very next Wednesday. I'm off. I will be reading more. I'm trying to keep consistency per days on streams. I don't know if I'll be off every Wednesday. I don't know what my schedule really holds on the going. Awesome. Uh, well, anyway, I'm going to take a quick break to, of course, take care of the pupper and to swap to Dreamlight Valley. We will be back in 2 and 2 for that. So just stay tuned, and I will be right back after these messages. Well, I don't have really messages anymore, but yeah. I'm trying to get over here, Fuzz, but sure you guys can hear me. Because Elvis apparently had something he had to say. Yeah, exactly. Back up. Anyway, I'm back. Let's see. What's going on now? Yes, yeah, you heard that very distinct meow. All right, let's check out, see what's going on here. Just checking in all the goings on here with the YouTubes
and the things and all the stuff. Interesting how that plays out. Okay, just making sure we get it all queued up and ready. Yeah, let's put the music on. That's cool. Boop. I booped the boop. If I asked you to dance, would you run and never look back? Would you cry if I saw me crying? Would you say you are sorry tonight? Would you tremble if I touched your lips? Would you lie? Please tell me this. Would you lie for the one you love? Good night. Leave your house tonight. I can be your hero, baby. I can kiss away the pain. I will stand by you forever. You can't take my breath away. Seriously, you're always me. Would you lie? Would you run and hide? Am I in too deep? I lost my mind. I can't you're here tonight. I can be your hero, baby. I can kiss away the pain. I will stand by you forever. You can't take my breath away. Just to let you know, around 6 my time, Check Your Local Listens, we'll be streaming AEW Dynamite in my Discord. So for those of you who are wrestling fans, if you'd like to come check it out, feel free to come and hang out. And if you're not a wrestling fan, always feel free to hang out in the voice chat. We always love to have folks come in and say hi and hang out with us. And we do usually, yeah, it's a fun time. But if you want to hit up that Discord invite link, it'd be awesome. Thank you. And there's a Discord link right there. Nicholas, back up. He's like, my people need me. No, they don't. Not right now. I've been too deep. Have lost my mind. Okay, you're here tonight. I can be your hero, baby. And I can kiss away the pain, oh yeah. And I will stand by you forever. You can't take my breath away. I can be your, I can kiss away the pain. I will stand by you forever. You can't take my breath away. You can't take my breath away. I can be your hero. Nippus, stop. Now see, they just being needy. That's a damn lie. All right. you. Highway to the danger zone. Right into the danger zone. To the river, we got into the danger zone. And say hello to you when you're on the red light all alone. I know what you can do. I know what you can do. Anyway, and yes, Bunny is totally correct. Like I said, we most of the time we just like to hang out and have a good time. To be truthful, the wrestling's just basically just gravy. Um, and usually Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, we usually have some kind of wrestling going on. Round about, like I said, round about 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Check your local listings. And uh, a week from this coming Saturday, it will be a WrestleMania. So, and we will definitely be streaming that. Where the fuck did you go? Got it. Had to chase it down. It's like, goddamn. Mama. Mama.
Thank you for coming to talk to me. Okay, alright. I don't want to mess up.
But yeah, we just like to, most of the time the VC around for us is just basically, good, just good place to hang out, chill. We try to, talk, and even like I said, even folks that don't necessarily watch the content, we just kind of hang out and vibe too.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our cover of Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins. If you guys want to show some extra support, click the link in the description to join our Patreon like our
They added in a new color egg this year.
Remember to check out our website, first211.com. You can find physical copies of all of our cover CDs, as well as t-shirts and sweatbands.
I'm gonna ad breaks. Gosh, almighty, those ad breaks happen quick. Those ad breaks happen quick, yo. Just a little breathing. Just see. Ah. Ooh. That is so awesome. I have to mention this because I just got word of this myself. We have a friend of the community and a friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine. He's actually one of the first friends I ever met in the streaming community. Norm Rhodes, who streams most afternoons. He just got picked to be a GoTel ambassador. And what GoTel is a fundraising for lupus and with its treatment and information for treatment information about lupus. So, just to give y'all some kind of idea of what's going on.
And he is a really awesome fella. But if you'd be so kind as to drop his link, I would really appreciate it. Yeah, I don't have any of the rippers, so I need to switch companions. Don't wanna close my eyes. Don't wanna fall asleep 'cause I miss you. I don't wanna miss a day. So go give Naman a follow if you haven't already. He's really good dude. Like I said, one of my longtime friends, and now an ambassador for for that kind of research. I mean, it's just freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. You got to follow the Naman because well, he's like the awesome. Yes. I need red falling red falling flowers. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm actually going to eat. And I need to take a look at the buy Karen seeds, buy pumpkin seeds. And of course I gotta grind the okay. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my dude. Oh, very cool. So I need 100 vault rewards, which is really cool. Okay, so routine duties. Good to know. Okay. So doing those will actually be useful now too. Okay. And let me look at the actual quests. In the morning, not a soul sleep. Let's see. Drops in the windshield. There's a storm. Yeah. Oh yes, I need to talk to the Olaf as well. Some closed him. Yes, he's everyone's chocolate has a bundle. Yes. Asking for a miracle. Hope means he's not right. Oh, need about the pumpkin seeds. I don't have to keep them. Oh no, that hurt and stuff. Rose, and the lightning strikes, and the love grows cold on a sleepless night. Oh, by the way, there's some good news. Chill. Let's see. River. Chill. Oh, I got an ad break going on. Okay. We'll have to pause for the colors for about a couple minutes. Cause I have to hold him. I'm thankful he's alive. Okay. If those of you on the YouTubes just hang loose for about a minute and a half, we'll be back with the content in just a moment.
and the lightning strikes, and the love grows cold on the sleepless night as the storm rolls on out of control. Deep in her heart, the thunder rolls. I like that segue. I like the fuck. Memories soon, and I believe the line, taking me apart again. You all assume I'm sitting here in my ring. I'm just trying to start again. I don't want to be the one the battles always choose. 'Cause inside I realize I'm the one confused. I don't know what's worth fighting for, why I have to scream. I don't know why I instigate, say what I don't mean. I don't know how I got this way, now it's not alright. So I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habit tonight. Eh? Change my cure. I time to lock the door. I try to catch my breath again. I heard much more than any time before. I have no options left again. I'm the one who'd be the one the battles always choose. 'Cause inside I realize I'm the one confused. I don't know what's worth fighting for, why I have to scream. I don't know how I instigate to say what I don't mean. I got this way, never be alright. Don't think I made it. Oh well. In the habit, I'm breaking the habit tonight. I've hated all the signs I won't fight. I'll never fight again. And this is how we ends. I don't know what's worth fighting for, why I have to scream. I know I have some clarity to show you what I mean. I don't know why I got this way, never be alright. So I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habit. I'm breaking the habit tonight. This one will never be what I expected. And if I don't get right, who can stand? I will not be alone. Everything that I own to make me feel like it's not too late. It's never too late. Even if I say it'll be alright, still I hear you say you won't take your hand. I just stay. It's not too late. It's never too late. I'll never see the side of my dad. And if I don't do what I've guessed at, I'll not left alone. It's my turn, it's my turn. Even if it's, it'll be alright. Wow, there's lots and lots of people. I have so many quests to have to turn in. I've been working on a whole bunch at once. And so, which is Ginger? Nope, that's Mila. Oh, hello. I need that. Thank you.
Would you like to do something together? Oh, so glad you made it. I just love sunny days.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know where I'm going to put that.
I need to talk
I,
to you.
I literally do not know where I'm going to put that because as big as it sounds like it's going to be, I need a lot of room.
Hi. Mm-hmm. Goodbye.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm thinking there. Either there or there. I haven't figured it out yet.
Hey there. Can I talk to you? Hello, friends. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you want to be able to support Imori, please go and make sure you subscribe to her. We're going on tour in Europe with Lauren Babic very
It was
soon.
great talking to you.
Super fast. Make sure you get that.
All the running around and things.
Hello. Just find me later. I'll definitely be around.
You're right downtown. You get a chance, you drive me up the wall. The original, know it all.
Okay, so you're a rocket scientist. That don't impress me.
What's the name?
So you got the brains, but have you got the touch? Now don't get me wrong, yeah, I think you're alright, but that won't keep me warm in the middle of the night. That don't impress me much.
Not really sure what that's for, but you know, I think it's nifty they did it that way. The shine machine, you made me choose before you let me in. You believe me, but you're coconut. Come on, baby, tell me.
You must be joking, right?
Nice.
Think you're special. I think you're something else. Okay, so you got a car. That don't impress me much.
Just find me later. I'll definitely be around.
By the way, this starts the Pocahontas quest line. I still haven't done I still haven't done the one for freaking Lady in the Trap yet. Bad me, I know. That don't impress me much.
See you soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what do you think? You're Elvis or something? That
Don't impress me. No, you haven't.
Wait a minute. Did you do that? Did you do that?
That's cute.
Why would you do that? That's just gonna throw. Did you fart in the mic?
I think they're the ones up here. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty cute. Sing along if you know the words. Just a simple girl living in another world. Took a midnight train going anywhere. Just a safe word. Born and raised inside Detroit. And took a midnight train going anywhere. Sitting in the smoky room, the smell wine and cheap perfume. For a smile that can share the night, it goes on and on and on and on. Strangers waiting up and down the boulevard, shadows searching in the night. Street lights, people, and just to find emotion, hiding somewhere in the night. And hard to get my fill. Everybody wants a thrill. And roll the dice just one more time. Some win, some will lose. Some will listen the blues. I'll never be never and take on and on and on and on. Strangers waiting up and down the boulevard, shadows searching in the night. Street lights, people, and just to find emotion, hiding somewhere in the night. Don't stop
Thanks for coming to see me.
believing. Well, hold on to the feeling, yeah. Street lights, people. Don't stop believing. Hold on to the feeling, yeah. Street lights, people. Don't stop believing. So basically, they're implementing some of the storybook stuff now into the other. Well, how am I supposed to? Oh, it's over here. Hmm.
Work up and bruise. Nothing comes enough without a soul. A spirit sleeping somewhere cold until you find it back home. Wake me up inside. Wake me up inside. My name inside me from the time. If I put to run before I come undone from the nothing I become. You can't just leave me breathe into me and make me real. Make me to life. Wake me up inside. Wake me up inside. Show my name inside me from the dawn. I'm not to run. I'm
Just
not
find me later.
coming.
I'll definitely be around.
Save me from the nothing I've become.
Hello.
To
See you
know.
soon.
I'm not seeing anything. I hear a fish on.
Hello. Oh. Great. Let's talk later.
Oh. Oh, that was weird. I love the mapping on that one.
Hello. Just find me later. I'll definitely be around. Hey guys, thanks for watching our cover of Bring Me
Mm. Really? Alrighty then. Even those planks didn't look that damn big. Ah.
end up putting Pocahontas's house either in the forest or on the water somehow. Our instincts, they return. Sad thing is, I am going to have to end strain around around 5, because I've got a grocery order coming. So now I'm just looking to checking on it actually from time to time.
Let's do something fun.
And there she is. Let's see. Now we get to find Miku because yeah, the raccoon. Yes, yes. I'll have a killie.
Hey, we NATO, my friend.
Pit. Yeah, pit. Yes, or will be. Yes. And now we're going to place the house. I personally think it would look better in the woods, to be truthful. I mean, that's just me, though. Hmm. Let the hate incomplete. If you're wondering, that's actually Joy and Sadness's place, and that is Woody and Buzz's place. I think she'll be in good company and put her right around in here, I think. But I think I'm gonna have to go up there and clear some space, because apparently, actually, I will move that here. But I think I'm gonna have to clear some space out just because. Because I don't think I can pick up and move the herbs. And that is Punzel's house. No. No, Rapunzel's house is down here. The tower is down here. I'm down. Yeah. Or was. I didn't leave. Or no, I ended up having to move that stuff back. I think. I'm so lost. Because that's the
there's the Beauty and the Beast house and Cinderella's house, Sleeping Beauty's house. That's Aladdin and Jasmine's place. That's that's Alice's house. There's Rapunzel's tower. I'm done. There it is. And that's Vanellope's house. That's the Monsters Inc. house. That's Milan's house. This is your classic folks here. Basically, I'm trying to make it all make sense. If that makes sense. Have all the basic princesses together. The only people that have not been moved, I have not moved. I don't think I can move Maleficent yet. I don't think I can. Can't move Maleficent. And I can't, I haven't wanted to move Flynn and Merida as yet, so. Is this where the ginger is? Nope, that's garlic. It's ginger. That's nice. Where in the frick is the ginger, though? Because I have a quest for that, so. Anyway, okay. It's finally right there. Freaking. And now they're putting in overages in my mailbox. I wonder if they've been looking at WoW lately for ideas. Which I think is a great idea. Pretty party. I can't remember where the fucking ginger is. No, I think this is probably... Yeah, this is just the mushrooms, I think. I feel like a dodo, because I know Mint's in the Mint's out there. That's vanilla. Might be up here. Not working. By the way, I got a really nice surprise today. A person in Noble's community actually gifted us did a sub bomb, and they gifted and I got one of a gift sub to Noble's channel, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't think I need any of those. Never bad time. Nothing hard, no mistake. You can roll. That's my life. It's a wonder. I gonna live forever. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life. My heart is like an open highway. Like a second in my way. Just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life.
It's all in this life. Ain't no crack, ain't no crack down. It's my life, it's now or never. I don't live forever. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life, but it's like an open highway. The thing that's gonna get it my way. I live while I'm alive. It's my life. I'll never. That's the one. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life, but it's like an open highway. With Frankenstein in my way. I just wanna live while I'm alive. It's my life. You notice I got done a long time ago, but I still. Care if Monday's one, Tuesday's red and Wednesday too. Thursday, I don't care about you, it's Friday, I'm in love. Monday, you could fall apart. Tuesday, Wednesday, break my heart. Thursday is a demon start. It's Friday, I'm in love. Saturday night, Sunday, your legs comes to me. My hesitate. I don't care if Monday's black. Tuesday, Wednesday, hard attack. Thursday, is a way to me back. It's Friday, I'm in love. Today I can't hold my hand. Tuesday, Wednesday, stay in there. Thursday, afternoon, instead it's Friday, I'm in love. Then Sunday, first comes to mind. Never hesitate. Surprise. Just right. Cherry Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, happy came ready. It's Friday, I'm in love. Sunday, we can't fall apart. Tuesday, Wednesday, break my heart. Thursday, happy Wednesday, I'm in love. Basically, I'm just cleaning up the place, just in general.
Hmm. By the way, this is Peter Pan's place. That is the where I basically had to confront my own past, which is always lovely. Um, are you gonna slow down? Don't remember if I had that one or not. I have that one. Never mind. I just turned my back. It was like, nah, I'm done. And that's Gaston's house. She knows I put him the furthest the fuck away from everybody. If I could burn it to the ground, I would. Yes, I'm very belligerent when it comes to that man. Basically, the walking, talking personification of narcissism. I ain't believing this. I'm out of. Damn it. Looking for ginger and ain't got none now. Great. When you come undone, who do you need? Who do you love? When you come undone.
What a nice day.
Deja vu. A stranger, I feel change. Something on you. No, you're nothing. Yes. The book. Okay, let's try that again. This time without the oops. We'll try to stay in line to the hope here sun. Oh. We're hoping the way to try. Who you need, who you love, when you come undone. Who do you need, who do you love, when you come undone. Who do you need, who do you love, when you come undone. Oh, who do you love, when you come undone. It's gone cold, I wonder where. Got out of bed at home. Morning rain clouds up my window. And I can't see it all. And even if I let it all be great. It's okay, you're good. It reminds me that it's not so bad. It's not so bad. It's all good. I drank too much last night, got bills to pay. My hair just feels happy. Beside by side, there'll be a healthy day. I'm ready for work again. Even if I really only thought that I might not last a day. When you call me, it's not so bad, it's not so bad. Now I want to thank you The best day of my life. Oh, just to be with you. It's having the best day of my life. I'm on my legs, and I'm so turn around. Then you heard it in your time. And all I see is you, even if I lost from somehow. I wouldn't have a clue, because you're near me. I want to thank you for giving me this day of my life. Oh, really? Yeah, for Christ's sake, I will. Well, I hope I like that ice cream. Because, well, otherwise it's going to suck. Where are you running to? Oi.
The villagers around here are really friendly.
Oh, damn. They had to substitute my ice cream for another ice cream that's like $2 more, and I'm just like, I hope I like it. It's the same flavor, but it's a different brand.
Ah,
Yeah, that was my sound when I saw that too.
There's always a way to find the fun.
That was the noise I made when I realized that too. That was the noise I made too. Return to some secret place. Okay, why does it keep asking for that? It must have to do with his a quest or something. Let's see. Do I still have it in my inventory? If I don't, I better break it again. Uh-uh. Mm-hmm.
Turning and returning to some secret place to hide.
Hmm.
Watching in slow motion as you turn to me and say, my love.
I better go look at something. I cry so sorry. I'm on the train. Okay. Defect. Just made a butt ton of sushi, but no problem. You tell him I'm not here. I will eat some of that said sushi. Since I seem to have, like, made a lot. Kind of got on a bender of it. Oh, that's nice. Alright, I'm gonna go around and actually get some fucking questions done, because apparently I am, like, way behind. Hold on, before I go any further. I'll say this game will make you schizo, because and the reason I say that is because you have so much you have to keep up with. Can't remember if I have maxed her out yet. You could play this game for hours and still not get everything done. Well, if you haven't noticed, I got over 2 million gold, if that tells you anything. So I've been at this a hot minute. The reason I say it's going to make you schizo is because you're like, did I make that gift for so-and-so? And then you might not ever run into them, and then you end the session, and then you're like, shit. And then you make it, and you're like, well, hell. And then you don't run into them, and then you close the session, and then you're like, oh, fuck me. And then people like Joy and Sadness, they don't even eat. You can't, like, cook something. You have to look up the flowers and shit, which is something I've had to do. Okay, I think I gave her that one. I could be wrong. So hard, in my car. And this one just perfect. Tell me where to go. I will say this, look, being able to look this stuff up like that has made things a lot easier in the grind. It's just, but it's a pain in the butt. You're like, oh. By the way, I do have some good news. Apparently they are working in the utility room today, so yay. And so I'm still kind of holding out hope that they'll get that done before I have to run off and wash my clothes at a laundromat. That would be really nice if they could get that done, and soon. So, take a hold of her. Okay. Yay, food done. Probably going to be finding a stopping place soon and get ready to raid so I can keep an eye on my grocery order. I hate for it to come while I'm streaming. Plus, I gotta get ready for the dinamite as well. Dinamite must be Italian. Must have plenty. Oh, yes, I do. Okay. Just making sure. Okay. Now, I need to go to uh, Aurora's cottage. That's where that. Okay, that's who that is.
Villagers here are so dear.
No conditions. Have a good time. Okay, let's see. I didn't see that, so now I have to go back and get her that, which is just fucking stupid. She looked half stoned when I did that too.
Do take care.
I was like, who's cut? Oh yeah, that's hers. Maybe I didn't have a boozer card, that's probably the reason why.
Oh,
Aw, it's babies. It's babies. Look at the babies. Oh my goodness. These babies.
oh, hello. Let's do this again. You're just who I was thinking of. Oh. I think I'll pick some of those scrumptious berries later.
I got an ad break coming in about 4 minutes.
I'm so pleased you're here. Yay! Oh. Of course. Oh.
She just goes wandering off. Basically, I am basically working on multiple quest lines at once here.
Oh. Great talking to you.
Oh, before you run off. Oh, I didn't have to fix anything for her. There.
One thing I know, you can't run away from your problems. I've tried.
I'd forgotten I'd maxed her out. That shows you how much I've paid attention to this damn game, unfortunately. And I feel dumb for doing that, but oh well. I still get credit for giving the gifts on the meta task, so.
you just gotta love running errands, you know? It's like, and it looks like we have a live loaf. So maybe a raid target.
You there? I need you.
There's something ironic in giving a lion sushi.
There you are.
Just don't know.
Now, Shu, I'm done with you.
He's such an asshole. I'm just looking for some more ginger because it's part of that meta quest. I'll be probably playing this some more because of this. Okay, Jungle Bamboo from the Lion King realm, so I have to go there next. Actually, I forgot. There's a trick to that now. I forgot I don't have to go to I don't have to go to around to the castle anymore. I forgot about that. We do have an ad break starting soon. This should be our last one of the day, though. So, just try to hang out and chill. And for those of you on the YouTube, you have tubes, just hang loose. We'll be back with you for more content in just a moment. Although I'm just kind of vamping it right now. I should do it. I can't get back that way? That's stupid. Okay, good to know. Don't wait up on me. No. Oh, wow. Okay, that's different. It didn't put me back out in the palace. It put me right back where I was. Cool. Okay, good to know. Okay, there's a lag gap all of a sudden. Oh dear. Okay. They're already looking for a delivery driver, so I may end up having to end early. Okay. They're wanting to get this stuff going. Got it. Okay. Good to know. What am I needing to do for her? I don't have enough. Wow, I need 10 flower pots and 20 yellow daisies? What the heck? Okay.
Good to know. Alrighty. Okay, since we have had fun picking up all the flares, you'd have thought. Yeah, since I got close up, I might as well put that stuff back because I won't be playing it for the rest of the day. So, yeah. Alright. Since they're already looking for a driver, I think it'll be my time to sign off, unfortunately. Because as soon as I get one, it might be 20 minutes, it might be 10, who knows. And looks like the loaf is playing the Residents of the Evils. So we are going to, let me refresh all the streams. Okay, and I know that was like just suddenly just silence. All right. It was a really great stream. Sorry to cut off before I hit the 4 hour mark, but sadly, yes. And for those of you on the YouTubes, since I am going to be signing off, and there's not really any kind of rating out with YouTube. Hopefully, you guys that are hanging out in the Twitch chat will follow me there. You know, do the like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I will try to get content up and running back on there as soon as I can. We will see. If I have another big long time off like this, you know, like 2 or 3 days, I will try my best to get part 3 and part 4 of Summer Night on YouTube. For those of you that are impatient and can't wait for the edited version, it will be up on basically the VOD on both here and out there. But from all of us here to all of you on YouTube land, that's going to be it for me. I will catch you again on Friday. Stay positive, put positivity in the world, take care of yourself, take care of others, and I will catch you on the flip side. See you later. Bye. And that is for those on the